Chapter 1020, New Skill and New Spell. As Evan moved closer to the submerged structure, Michael floated helplessly in the ocean, bound by the golden ropes that encircled him. He locked eyes with the eel, their silent connection speaking volumes. Understanding Michael's unspoken command, the eel swam away, disappearing into the depths of the ocean, seeking safety. Meanwhile, Evan's clenched fist radiated with a golden glow as he summoned his power. With unwavering determination, he unleashed a powerful punch, striking the cubic structure. The cracks that already marred its surface widened and multiplied with each forceful blow. Evan's relentless assault continued until the structure shattered completely, revealing its hidden contents. To their astonishment, an ancient-looking scroll awaited them within the shattered remains of the structure. It was encased in an ethereal air bubble, surrounded by a mysterious dark mist. The mere sight of it signaled to Michael that it was indeed a seed of darkness, a powerful artifact of untold potential. However, before Evan could reach out to touch the spell scroll, Michael's voice cut through the air, stopping him in his tracks. Evan turned to face Michael, his curiosity piqued by his unexpected interruption. "Not so fast, Evan." Michael's voice carried a mischievous undertone as a beam of light emanated from the skull on his chest. The beam formed an image of Victoria, Evan's fiancée. The sight struck Evan like a bolt of lightning, freezing him in place. His eyes widened with shock as he beheld the distressing scene before him. Victoria, bound to a chair, bore the marks of a fierce struggle. Her golden hair was disheveled, and her once pristine white armor was stained with blood. Bruises marred her delicate features, a testament to the battle she had endured. Behind her lay the lifeless bodies of several guards, their broken forms strewn across the marble floor. Evan's heart raced with a mix of fear, anger, and concern for his beloved. The image etched into his mind, driving him to a moment of agonizing indecision. His desire to obtain the seed of darkness clashed with his overwhelming need to protect Victoria. As the gravity of the situation sank in, a tense silence enveloped the ocean depths, the weight of their choices hanging heavy in the water. Evan's anguished cry reverberated through the water as he locked eyes with his gagged and restrained fiancée Victoria. The sight of her, bound and helpless, fueled his rage, causing him to lash out impulsively at Michael, seeking vengeance. "What have you done?" Evan's voice echoed with a mix of desperation and fury, the ripples in the water mirroring his tumultuous emotions. But just as Evan lunged towards Michael, a woman's voice cut through the tense atmosphere, halting his advance. Gaia, the Dark Queen, emerged into view, her presence commanding and sinister. With a dagger dripping with blood, she stood behind Victoria, issuing a chilling ultimatum. "I wouldn't do that if I were you, Evan." Gaia's words carried a deadly warning, her gaze fixed on Evan. She demanded the release of Michael, threatening to slit Victoria's throat if her demands were not met. Reluctantly, Evan shifted his attention from Michael to the dire situation unfolding before him. The weight of the decision bore heavily upon him as he reached out to remove the golden ropes binding Michael. As his hand grasped the ropes, they loosened, freeing the Dark Lord. "I'll take this." In a twist of fate, Michael took hold of the golden ropes, his sly grin betraying his amusement at the turn of events. "Just because you're stronger than me doesn't mean you can defeat me, Evan. They call me the Dark Lord for a reason," Michael taunted, his words laced with a hint of arrogance as he lightly tapped Evan's cheek, a taunting gesture of superiority. Unbeknownst to Evan, in the moment of their encounter, Michael had secretly communicated with Gaia. He had instructed her to infiltrate Evan's house in Bredia and take his family hostage, using them as leverage to manipulate Evan. However, Michael had not anticipated that Victoria would be present at the house. While Evan's parents made for suitable hostages, Victoria, his beloved fiancée, proved to be an even more enticing pawn in his sinister game. As Michael approached the spell scroll, his curiosity piqued, he turned his attention back to Evan, his voice laced with a hint of suspicion. "Who do you work for, Evan?" Michael's inquiry hung in the air, his gaze penetrating as he studied Evan's reaction. Evan's heart raced, his mind torn between protecting Victoria and confronting Michael. He met Michael's gaze with a resolute expression, firm in his response. "No one," Evan replied, his voice strained with emotion. But Gaia, reveling in her sadistic control, interjected with a chilling snicker, her grip on Victoria tightening. The dagger pressed against Victoria's throat, drawing a thin trickle of blood, a cruel reminder of the imminent danger. "Don't play games with the life of your beloved Evan," Gaia taunted, her voice dripping with amusement. Evan's heart skipped a beat as he witnessed the crimson trail staining Victoria's skin. "Let her go." She had done nothing to you. Fury surged within Evan as he pleaded for Victoria's release, his voice trembling with desperation and rage. But Gaia, displaying her deranged nature, merely snickered and playfully pouted, displaying her utter disregard for Victoria's life. Evan, my dear, I have killed my own father and crippled my own sister. Do you think I give a flying fuck about this bitch? Gaia's words struck Evan like a dagger to the heart, leaving him paralyzed with anguish and helplessness. Evan's gaze darted between Gaia, Victoria, and Michael, his mind racing for a solution. He longed to stop Michael's actions, but Gaia yanked Victoria's hair back, exposing her vulnerable neck, and reminded Evan of the knife poised against her throat. This terrifying threat silenced his desperate intentions. With determination in his eyes, Michael unleashed a powerful punch, striking the air bubble that surrounded the spell scroll. The bubble shattered, dissipating into thin air, as Michael swiftly grabbed hold of the ancient scroll. A dark mist, tinged with an otherworldly aura, emanated from the scroll and slowly coiled around Michael's hand, its tendrils intertwining with his very being. As the dark mist seeped into Michael's body, a surge of energy coursed through his veins. Veins protruded from his skin beneath the armor, pulsating with an ethereal glow. The power within him intensified, radiating with an intensity that Evan couldn't ignore. Evan's gaze fixated on Michael, his senses heightened as he observed the sudden rise in Michael's energy radiation. The aura surrounding Michael became more ominous, shrouding him in an aura of darkness and power. Congratulations to the host for acquiring another seed of darkness. The host now acquired 3 seeds of darkness. The experience points harvester function is online. The host will receive experience points for killing from now on. Once the host reaches the celestial stage, the system will come online permanently. The host can now absorb powerful artifacts and turn their energy into experience points. Rare and more powerful artifacts will give the host more experience points. This chapter. Upload first at NWSB, C0M. Michael's vision became hazy as the system notifications flooded his awareness. A surge of joy swept over him as he realized he was getting closer to permanently awakening the system. Amidst the flurry of notifications, he couldn't contain his excitement upon discovering that he could absorb artifacts and gain experience points once again. Lost in the sea of notifications, a particular message caught his attention. Congratulations for acquiring the Seed of Darkness, Shadow Teleportation. Michael's astonishment echoed in his mind. He was well aware that each Seed of Darkness possessed unique properties, granting him distinct powers and advantages. His armor, for instance, was a Seed of Darkness that provided him with formidable protection. Now, the spell scroll had bestowed upon him a new ability, the wondrous gift of Shadow Teleportation. The Shadow Teleportation is a powerful spell that grants the user the ability to instantaneously transport himself to any location within his line of sight where a shadow is present. By harnessing the connection between shadows and travel, the host can seamlessly navigate through space, utilizing shadows as gateways to move from one point to another effortlessly. Curious about his newfound ability to absorb energy from artifacts, Michael reached out for the golden ropes that had bound him moments ago. Closing his eyes, he focused his concentration on the ropes, feeling the surge of energy coursing through them. A soft hum resonated in his senses as he experienced a slight resistance from the ropes. Slowly but steadily, the golden strands transformed into tiny specks of dust, drifting into Michael's being, converting into valuable experience points. Absorbing legendary level ropes of halving. Absorbing energy, converting the grace energy into experience points. Experience points converted 300,000, experience points converted 700,000. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half celestial stage level 4, host. Michael cultivation level, half celestial level 4 godhood. Fledgling god, have 3 seeds of darkness. Need 2 seeds for the upgrade to level 2 godhood demigod. Experience points. 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 /12 0 0 0 0 0 0 badass points. 75 million skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL 6 Ultimate Form Level 1 Eyes of Doom, LVL 5 Ultimate Form Level 1 Responsive Shield, LVL 8 Environment Scanning. LVL 8 I think you should take a look at Ignitia, LVL 8 Ultimate Form Level 1 Silenes, LVL 1 Meteor, LVL 1 Lightning Dash, LVL 6 Ultimate Form Level 1 Energy Devour, LVL 5 Soul Eater, LVL 5 Soul Stare, LVL 4 Death Range LVL 3 Shadow Teleportation Eyes of Darkness, Normal. Can sense the cultivation level of others' eyes of darkness, Lucifer. Can sense the cultivation level of others, can see through illusions cloud of darkness, Lucifer. Weak-willed enemies will lose their courage completely and surrender. Death range will be 50% more powerful, and if activated in darkness, the host's cultivation level will be boosted 4 levels up regardless of the stage barrier. Wordless spell caster, Lucifer. In full Lucifer form, the host just has to think of the spell to cast it. Techniques. Swords of Destiny 98% Mastery Ring of Fire, 96% Mastery Serpent Mega, 98% Mastery Occupation. The Guardian of Sunrise Sect, the Dark Lord, the God of Darkness status. Healthy goals. Control the world, grow the Order of Death utility function. Banker, LVL 5, ratio 1000 gold coins, 40 badass points. Runic teleportation X-ray vision, also integrated with Eyes of Darkness. Wealth, 25 million gold special trait. 6-star Alchemist, 5-star Blacksmith, 5-star Inventor subordinates. Gaia Warrior. Loyalty level 100%, Raylene 5-star Chef, loyalty level 99%, Arya Queen of Shadows Assassin, loyalty level 92%, Adelia Wraith, loyalty level 94%, Maxine Queen of Power. Warrior, loyalty level 98%, Tiberius King of War Warrior, loyalty level 85%, Sadie Queen of Whispers, loyalty level 70%, Ricky, loyalty level 95%, Titus and Optimus Kings of Supplies, loyalty level 80%, Gibson King of the Skies, loyalty level 90%, Corey Queen of the Seas, loyalty level 90%, The Silent Reaper Crew Pirates, loyalty level 93%, Saber King of the Nightwalkers, loyalty 82%, Trista Lenora Base of Operation, The Abyssal, the Crypt, the Dark Ocean Familiars, Nightmare Royal Dragon. Dead, Vidora, Three-Headed Hydra, Elemental Manipulation. Wind, 40% Mastery, Fire, 40% Mastery, Lightning, 50% Mastery, Darkness, 50% Mastery. Michael surveyed his updated system status with a sense of satisfaction. With the restoration of his ability to gain experience points through taking lives and absorbing artifacts, he knew there was much work ahead of him. Taking a deep breath, he exited the system and directed his attention back to Evan, who had witnessed the disappearance of the spell scroll, unaware of its true power. Let me ask you one more time, Evan. Who do you work for? You are a follower, not a leader. So who do you follow? In a cold and commanding tone, Michael addressed Evan, demanding to know the truth behind his allegiances. Lie to us one more time and I will end her life. The threat of ending Victoria's life loomed in the air, voiced by Gaia with deadly authority. Evan, torn between his loyalty to Celici and his love for Victoria, made a difficult choice. Realizing that lying would jeopardize Victoria's safety, he confessed the truth to Michael. It's Celici, the former queen of Nagaland, Evan revealed. Finally, the veil of secrecy surrounding Michael's shadowy adversary began to lift. Chapter 1021. Turning Sea Realm against Celici. Upon learning that Celici was working against him in the shadows, Michael's suspicions were confirmed. He had always suspected that Celici held more secrets than she let on. Even when he had attacked Nagaland, her kingdom, and Gaia had inflicted harm upon her family, Celici had remained elusive. This absence hinted at a deeper purpose behind Celicis' actions. Now that Michael knew for certain that Celici was plotting against him and that Evan was working for her, he saw an opportunity to manipulate Evan to his advantage. Killing Evan would be futile, as he was a god who could only be truly slain with a specialized weapon. Instead, Michael decided to use Evan as his spy, a valuable asset in his quest for dominance. With his plan forming in his mind, Michael turned his gaze towards Gaia, issuing a command. Deliver my gift to Victoria, he instructed Gaia, sending a shiver through Evan's heart. Stop. Evan's desperate shout echoed through the space as he lunged at Michael. With a sneer, Michael swiftly evaded Evan's attack using his lightning dash spell. Following Michael's order, Gaia retrieved a vial of blood tonic from her storage ring. She removed the gag from Victoria's mouth and forced the potion down her throat. Evan's anguish filled the air as he witnessed Victoria coughing, unable to speak a word before Gaia silenced her once more. Eyes gleaming with a devilish grin, Michael delivered a cold ultimatum to Evan. Evan seethed with anger as he approached Michael, his movements slow and deliberate. Michael remained floating in the water, showing no intention of evading Evan's wrath. As Evan drew nearer, he grasped the collar of Michael's armor and shook him forcefully. Your blackened soul knows no mercy, ghost. You will suffer in the depths of hell, Evan cursed, compelled to help Victoria despite his anger. Michael's response was a calm and sinister snicker. I have already been to hell, Evan. Now tell me everything you know about Celice and her little plan to defeat me. Michael spoke, his voice steady. He gently removed Evan's hand from his collar, asserting his dominance. As Evan massaged his hand and reluctantly swallowed his saliva, Michael placed a hand on Evan's shoulder. Don't make me threaten you again and again every time I ask you a question, Evan. My beautiful wife, Michael gestured towards Gaia, continuing his words, isn't very good at being patient. She will kill Victoria and it'll be your fault, Michael calmly stated, his voice carrying a sense of warning. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M. Just as Evan was about to reveal Sales's plans, a sudden burst of golden light enveloped him, teleporting him away from Michael in an instant. Gaia, witnessing the unexpected turn of events, turned to Michael with surprise, seeking an explanation. Michael, however, had anticipated this move, knowing that Celice would have contingency plans in place to protect her subordinates from divulging sensitive information. Unbeknownst to him, Celice had intended to teleport Evan earlier, but the rune placed upon him had failed to activate. Otherwise, Evan would have been teleported away even before confessing his allegiance to Celice. Now that Celice has made her move, it is time for me to make mine, Michael calmly stated, his mind already racing with plans. What should we do about her? Concerning Victoria's fate, Gaia inquired, her dagger tracing along Victoria's face with a twisted sense of sadistic delight. Leave her alone but clean out their treasury, Michael ordered, confident that Gaia had already taken care of this task. With Victoria under the influence of the blood tonic, Michael held the power to end her life with a mere snap of his finger. Evan was well aware of this and he would obey Michael's every command. Michael anticipated that Celice, being the mastermind he believed her to be, would try to intervene and prevent Evan from falling into his grasp. However, Michael had prepared for every possible scenario, devising cunning plans to outmaneuver Celice at every turn. As he had stated, it was now his turn to take action, and Celice would soon discover the extent of his strategic prowess. I did that already, Gaia playfully chuckled, revealing her sinister nature that aligned perfectly with Michael's own. And human, meet me at our designated meeting spot soon. We need to locate our missing subordinates, Gaia instructed, receiving a nod of agreement from Michael. Upon his return from Itenes, Michael had contacted Gaia, only to discover that one of the 3 portals set up at the wedding had been tampered with. Those who had used this specific portal were teleported elsewhere, away from the Dark Castle. In other words, someone had kidnapped some of Michael's subordinates. Fortunately, Raylene and little Cindy remained safe in the dark forest. As much as Michael desired to reunite with Gaia and locate his subordinates, he knew that reaching the celestial stage was crucial. Only then would he ascend to the next level of godhood and be able to bring back the system online permanently. With Gaia and Victoria vanishing from his sight, Michael's gaze turned determined. He knew exactly where to go next, the Sea Serpent Hall. It was time to unleash his wrath and claim their powerful artifacts. Every artifact he consumed would grant him experience points, bringing him closer to achieving his ultimate power. As he swam through the depths of the ocean, Michael's mind was consumed by thoughts of domination. He envisioned himself confronting the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall, each one standing in his way. His dark grin revealed his thirst for power as he plotted their demise. One by one he would strike them down, absorbing their souls and turning them into experience points. He would relish in the surge of energy that would flow through him with each kill, fueling his ascent to godhood. No one would be spared, for in Michael's path, there was only destruction and a relentless pursuit of power. I think you should take a look at. Despite his ruthless determination, Michael was not driven by mindless bloodlust. He possessed a sense of pragmatism and offered an alternative to the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall. He would give them a chance to escape, sparing their lives, but only if they chose not to stand in his way. As he made his way through the city toward the Serpent King's castle, the streets were filled with chaos. The city was being evacuated, and the presence of armed soldiers patrolling the area added to the tension. Confused citizens approached the soldiers, seeking answers amidst the growing uncertainty. Why are we being forced to leave the city? What is happening? A concerned citizen inquired. Where is the Serpent King? Is this related to the battle with the human earlier? Another citizen questioned, unaware of Evan's true identity. The soldiers focused on their mission, responded with stern commands, ordering the citizens to keep quiet and follow their orders. Stay silent and obey. It's for your own safety, a soldier barked in response. The citizens, though perplexed and anxious, had no choice but to comply. They continued to be escorted out of the city, their questions left unanswered. As Michael calmly flew towards the castle, the soldiers of the Sea Serpent Hall quickly took notice of his presence. They formed a defensive circle around him, their faces contorted with a mix of shock and disbelief. The aura of power radiating from Michael, reaching the half-celestial stage, left them stunned and awestruck. With a mere thought, Michael willed his armor to remove the skull mask that concealed his face. The mask effortlessly moved into the armor, disappearing from sight, revealing Michael's face, a face that sent shivers down the spines of those who recognized him. Some of the soldiers gasped, their eyes widening as they realized they were in the presence of the infamous Dark Lord. Memories of his past power and brutality resurfaced, causing a ripple of fear to spread among the ranks. The soldiers hesitated, their instincts urging them to reconsider their confrontation with this formidable adversary. Surrounded by the soldiers, both in the air and on the ground, Michael maintained his floating position with an air of dominance. Among the sea of guards, a tall and bulky merman soldier clad in crimson-red armor and fiery red hair stepped forward, his voice tinged with a hint of fear and shivering. "Why has the Dark Lord come here?" the merman soldier questioned, struggling to maintain composure in the face of Michael's imposing presence. "Take me to your elders," Michael's voice resonated with an air of calm authority. "Your Serpent King has been killed by one of Queen Sales's subordinates. I have no desire to cause further harm, unless you stand in my way and attempt to impede my meeting with your elders." The soldiers and their red-haired general exchanged wary glances. Despite their own power and numerical advantage, they understood that they were no match for the might of the Dark Lord. The soldiers huddled together, their voices hushed yet filled with fervent discussion. Whispers echoed among them as they debated the Dark Lord's offer. "Are you brain dead? Who in their right mind would willingly fight the Dark Lord?" One soldier scoffed, rolling his eyes. "We're not the main characters or villains in some epic novel. No need to die for the elders." "Exactly." Another soldier chimed in. "We have a duty to protect the castle, but that doesn't mean we have a death wish. Let's be practical here." A sly grin spread across another soldier's face. I heard about those fools from the Guardian Guild who thought they could stand in the Dark Lord's way. Ended up dead for no good reason. Not the brightest bunch, huh?" Amidst the murmurs, the soldiers came to a unanimous decision. They would follow the Dark Lord's offer, opting for survival rather than a futile battle. In the end, their practicality won over. With a collective nod, they turned to their red-haired general and relayed their decision. It was clear that fighting the Dark Lord would only lead to their demise. They would follow his lead, ensuring their own survival while leaving the fate of the elders to the whims of the powerful being before them. "The elders will meet you in the throne hall," the red-haired general informed Michael. Taking a moment to assess the situation, Michael surveyed the city, his eyes meeting the gaze of the general. "There is no need for panic among the citizens. I am not here to bring destruction. Since you all have chosen to stand down, I see no reason to take any lives," Michael assured, his decision surprising even himself. Despite Michael's inclination to kill and convert soldiers into experience points, he refrained from doing so with the Sea Serpent Hall soldiers, who chose not to fight. Their unexpected display of rationality surprised him. Typically, soldiers and cultivators acted on impulse rather than making practical decisions. However, the Sea Serpent Hall soldiers demonstrated a level of intelligence and discernment that Michael hadn't anticipated. It intrigued him to see individuals capable of assessing the situation and making a wise choice. Fortunately, Michael had a new way to gain experience points by absorbing artifacts. With this in mind, he planned to strike a deal with the elders and acquire some of their most powerful artifacts. Additionally, he saw an opportunity to pit Cilici against the Sea Realm, shifting the blame for the Serpent King's demise onto Evan. Michael knew that the Serpent King's soul would seek another vessel and return, but he intended to forge a god-killing weapon in the meantime. His ultimate goal was to eliminate the Serpent King before the truth was revealed permanently. The pieces were falling into place and Michael's schemes were taking shape. As he prepared to meet the elders, he couldn't help but feel a surge of anticipation. The city of Sea Serpent Hall would soon witness the extent of his power and cunning. Chapter 1022, Reaching Half-Celestial Stage Level 7 I led by the crimson-haired merman general, Michael entered the castle through its grand entrance. Inside, chaos reigned as maids and soldiers scurried about in a state of panic, their movements resembling headless chickens. As their eyes fell upon their general accompanying the infamous Dark Lord, some froze in their tracks. Whispers spread among the maids, servants, and soldiers, as those who did not recognize Michael sought answers from those who did. "Who is that man?" one maid asked with wide eyes, her voice quivering. "That's the Dark Lord," another maid stuttered, fear evident in her voice. "I've seen him before." Some people in the vicinity sensed the immense power emanating from Michael, his half-celestial stage cultivation leaving them in awe and shock. The hushed conversations continued, filled with curiosity and uncertainty. "What is the general doing, escorting the Dark Lord into the castle?" a soldier wondered aloud, his voice tinged with confusion. "I don't know, but it can't be good," another soldier replied, his voice filled with trepidation. "We should stay out of their way and let the elders handle this." Amidst the commotion, the presence of the Dark Lord within the castle walls had sent shivers down their spines, leaving the maids, servants, and soldiers questioning the implications of his presence and the intentions behind their general's actions. The grand throne hall stretched before Michael, its vastness emphasized by the high ceilings and elaborate decorations adorning the walls. The throne, positioned on an elevated platform accessed by a grand staircase, stood as the focal point of the room. It was an imposing sight, intricately carved and adorned with symbols that represented the power and authority of the Serpent King. As Michael entered the hall, he observed the elders gathered on the marble floor, engaged in a heated discussion. They were aged men and women, their faces marked with the wisdom and experience of many years. Some had long white beards, while others had deep lines etched on their foreheads. They wore ceremonial robes, signifying their esteemed positions within the Sea Serpent Hall. "Have any of you seen the Serpent King? Where could he have gone?" one elder inquired, his brow furrowed with worry. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0 Moan elder with a voice filled with concern addressed the rest of the group. "We have found the bodies of several soldiers within the Serpent King's chambers. They were slain and their deaths remain a mystery. This is a grave matter that requires our immediate attention." Another elder, their voice tinged with confusion, responded, "But how could this happen? The Serpent King's room is heavily guarded, and the security is tight. Who could have breached our defenses and carried out such an act?" The elders exchanged worried glances, searching for answers to the puzzling situation. Little did they know that it was Michael who had infiltrated the Serpent King's chambers and eliminated the soldiers as part of his own plans. "We must investigate this matter thoroughly," another elder suggested, their voice tinged with determination. "We cannot afford any breaches in our security, especially during these uncertain times." As the conversation carried on, the elders suddenly fell silent, their eyes widening and their actions freezing in place. Michael had entered the throne hall, accompanied by the red-haired general. Fear and shock rippled through the elders' expressions as they laid their eyes upon the infamous Dark Lord. A hushed whisper escaped one elder's lips as he trembled, "It's the Dark Lord." Another elder, a woman with a stern gaze and silver hair, clasped her hands tightly together, unable to hide her unease. The elders exchanged nervous glances, unsure of what this unexpected visit from the Dark Lord would bring. Their initial discussion forgotten, the elders now found themselves face to face with the embodiment of their deepest fears. The grandeur of the throne hall paled in comparison to the aura of power and darkness that emanated from Michael. "Killian, what the hell have you done? You betrayed us." Elder Mercia, the silver-haired elder, stammered with a mix of shock and accusation, mistakenly believing that Killian had betrayed them and led the Dark Lord to their presence. "Elder Mercia, please understand that I did not betray us," Killian defended himself, his voice filled with urgency. He knew the seriousness of the situation and the elder's mistrust was a blow to his loyalty. "I think you should take a look at," Killian continued, his eyes searching for understanding among the elders. "The Dark Lord requested a meeting with all of you. In exchange, he promised that no more blood would be spilled in our city." Elder Mercia, with her silver hair shimmering under the light, stuttered in disbelief, her voice filled with shock. "Killian, how could you trust the Dark Lord? Have you forgotten the atrocities he has committed?" Killian held his ground, his voice firm and determined. "Elders, I bring grave news, conveyed to me by the Dark Lord himself." He clenched his fist, preparing to deliver the news of the Serpent King's demise. Standing beside Killian, Michael remained silent, allowing Killian to be the messenger of the Dark Lord's words. Michael intentionally withheld the information that merely destroying the vessel would not be enough to kill a god like the Serpent King truly. The truth was that specific god-killing weapons were required, weapons that even Michael did not possess. The Dark Lord claims that Serpent King was slain by Evan, a subordinate of Queen Celici of Nagaland, Killian announced, causing the elders to gasp in disbelief. While some found it difficult to fathom, given the recent claims of the Serpent King attaining godhood, others began to question the invincibility of their king. "It cannot be true," one elder murmured, their voice tinged with doubt. "Our Serpent King said he had become a god, invincible and everlasting." "It is true. I witnessed their battle in Windows Down. Evan, a fallen god himself, fought your king and emerged victorious," Michael affirmed, his words shocking the elders even further. He intentionally withheld the fact that merely destroying the physical vessel of a fallen god would not truly vanquish them. It required specialized weapons like the god-killing arrows forged by Xianxia and her friends, to sever the soul of a god and prevent their return. The atmosphere in the throne hall grew tense as the elders tried to process this unsettling information. The implications of their king's demise at the hands of another god created a sense of uncertainty and vulnerability. They had relied on the Serpent King's power and authority for so long, believing him to be unstoppable. Now, faced with the truth, they had to confront the harsh reality that their kingdom stood exposed to new threats. "I cannot fathom this. Our mighty Serpent King, defeated by someone named Evan? We have never even heard of this Evan before. Our Serpent King is not this fallen god but a true god," spoke a white-bearded elder, his knowledge of gods limited. In truth, none of the elders possessed a deep understanding of the gods and their classifications. The elder believed that the term fallen denoted weakness, unaware of its true meaning in the realm of gods. In the realm of gods, fallen gods referred to those who had their graces stripped away by the previous Dark Lord or rebelled against the pantheon, or were trapped in the mortal realm. In essence, they were gods who could no longer access the realm of gods. However, the elders mistakenly interpreted the term as a sign of weakness. Evan, who had been infused with grace through a contraption by Selisi, fell into this category as a fallen god. Stuck in the mortal realm, he was unable to return to the realm of gods. Similarly, Dagon, the ruler of Hell, was also a fallen god for rebelling against the pantheon and being banished. However, Michael and Noah were not fallen gods. They were born as gods in the mortal realm. However, in a previous timeline, Noah had his divine grace stripped away by the previous Dark Lord and locked away, only to have it later when Dagon released the graces. It was essential to clarify these distinctions, as the term fallen god carried different implications depending on one's understanding. The elders' limited knowledge made it difficult for them to grasp the complexities of godhood and the significance of Evan's actions. "Believe it or don't believe it. I don't care. The Serpent King made a deal with me to give you all his last words in exchange for half of the powerful artifacts and a quarter of your wealth," calmly stated Michael, leaving the elders in a state of profound shock. Despite having the power to seize the treasury and eliminate the elders, Michael refrained from doing so. He desired a realm where order and stability reigned. If he were to dismantle major powers like the Serpent Hall, it would create a void that numerous factions would scramble to fill. This would inevitably lead to widespread chaos and instability. Michael understood the importance of maintaining a balance of power. By sparing the elders and preserving their authority, he aimed to prevent the rise of countless smaller factions vying for control. This strategic approach would help maintain order and prevent the realm from descending into anarchy. While he could have easily taken what he desired by force, Michael recognized the long-term consequences of such actions. He sought a realm where power was distributed more evenly, ensuring a more stable and controlled environment. Besides, Michael had a grander plan in mind, envisioning a peaceful retirement on a private island alongside Gaia, their children and their closest friends and family. He aimed for a world where Nithroel would govern, allowing Michael to enjoy a life of tranquility. He understood that chaos and wars raging beyond his private island would disrupt his desired peace. Furthermore, as he ventured into the realm of gods, he anticipated his subordinates fighting against Saelsis forces in the mortal realm. He realized that he may not be able to travel freely between realms, as he would be embroiled in a greater war with the gods. Therefore, he deemed it crucial to retain powerful allies, such as the Sea Serpent Hall. It was this rationale that led Michael to abstain from completely depleting their treasury or exterminating them all. Chapter 1023, Reaching Half Celestial Stage Level 7-2, What do you mean, half of our artifacts and a quarter of our wealth? Dark Lord, we may be weak compared to you but we are no fools, voiced one of the elders, expressing their skepticism towards Michael's proposition. Remaining composed, Michael calmly advanced towards them, his hand tucked behind his back. The elders couldn't help but feel a sense of unease, their tension escalating in the presence of the Dark Lord's disconcerting smile. In response to the elder's question, Michael paused and then spoke, his words laced with calculated deceit. The last words of your Serpent King were he wanted all of you to wait for the right moment to avenge him. His exact words were, "Tell those idiots to use their brains and wait for the right moment to strike like I would have done. Say these words to my elders and receive your rewards. If they don't believe you, you can always kill them all and clean out my treasury, there won't be anyone to stop you. So it's up to my elders to preserve my legacy by honoring my words and avenging me." Michael boldly lied, reaching the steps leading to the Serpent King's throne. With an air of nonchalance, Michael leisurely sat on the stairs, his gaze fixed upon the contemplating elders. They were left pondering the validity of the Dark Lord's claim regarding their deceased king's final wishes. "Now consider this carefully. You can either uphold your king's legacy and grant me the rewards he agreed upon, or you can choose not to believe me, leading me to clean out your treasury without any opposition. It's clear to all that you are powerless against me," Michael calmly declared, directing his attention to the elder who had previously proclaimed their intelligence. "You claim to be no fools, so I urge you to make the wise choice. Keep half of the artifacts and the remaining wealth to seek revenge against Celici and Evan, who work for her, and avenge your fallen king," he concluded, leaving the elders to contemplate the difficult decision before them. The elders huddled together, their voices hushed as they engaged in a heated discussion regarding the matter at hand. Some expressed reluctance to believe that their mighty Serpent King had truly met his demise, doubting the authenticity of the words attributed to him by the Dark Lord. "I find it hard to believe that our revered Serpent King is no more," murmured one elder, his brows furrowed with skepticism. "Are we to trust the words of this Dark Lord? Even if the Dark Lord's words are false, we have no means to oppose him. It may be in our best interest to accept his terms, for losing only half of our artifacts and a quarter of our wealth is a lesser sacrifice compared to losing everything," an elder reasoned, revealing a sense of pragmatism. Another elder chimed in, his voice tinged with wisdom. "We must consider the broader picture. Celici and Evan, who serve her, pose a threat to our realm. Honoring the Serpent King's alleged last words by preserving half of our artifacts and retaining a portion of our wealth may indeed provide us with the means to seek revenge against them." In the midst of their deliberation, emotions ranging from skepticism to resignation and a desire for self-preservation were evident on the faces of the elders. They weighed the risks and benefits, acknowledging the overwhelming power of the Dark Lord and the futility of resistance. Ultimately, a collective decision began to take shape as they reluctantly accepted the reality of their situation and the necessity of making a deal with the Dark Lord. With heavy hearts and a hint of resignation, the elders prepared to honor their fallen king's supposed last words and fulfill the Dark Lord's demands, albeit with a sense of caution and a lingering doubt in their minds. The elders reached a consensus, their voices uniting as they presented their conditions to the Dark Lord. The air was heavy with a mixture of apprehension and determination. "We agree to your terms, Dark Lord," one of the elders spoke with a resolute tone. "But in return, you must promise to aid us in seeking revenge against Celici and Evan when the time comes." This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0. Ma smug smile played across Michael's lips as he heard their request. His plan was unfolding just as he had envisioned, manipulating the elders to serve his ultimate agenda. "I agree," Michael responded, his voice laced with feigned sincerity. "Rest assured, when the time comes, I will help you exact your vengeance." The elders, feeling a glimmer of hope in their hearts, thanked the Dark Lord for his willingness to support their cause. "Very well," one of the elders said, bowing respectfully. "Please wait here while we gather the artifacts and wealth you require." Michael's eyes gleamed with a hint of caution as he issued a warning to the departing elders. "Remember, if you attempt to deceive me or withhold what is rightfully owed, the consequences will be dire. I trust you understand the gravity of your words." The elders, now filled with a mixture of fear and determination, assured Michael of their sincerity. With a final nod, they disappeared from his sight, leaving him to await their return. As Michael stood in the grand throne hall, a sense of satisfaction washed over him. His plan was progressing flawlessly, and he relished the control he had exerted over the elders. With patience and cunning, he knew he could exploit this alliance to further his own ambitions. As Michael sat leisurely on the steps, swinging his legs back and forth, the sound of approaching footsteps caught his attention. The elders returned, led by Elder Mercia, who approached Michael with a sense of trepidation. In her outstretched hand she held a silver space ring. "Dark Lord, here is the ring containing what you have requested," Elder Mercia said, her voice laced with a mixture of awe and apprehension. Michael accepted the silver ring, his fingers delicately encircling it. With a simple touch, the ring responded, revealing its hidden contents. A smile spread across Michael's face as he accessed the space ring's contents, his eyes lighting up with delight. Within the ring he discovered a vast collection of almost 1 billion gold coins, gleaming brightly in the mental image. Alongside the coins were an array of 30 powerful artifacts, their energy radiating palpably within the confines of the space ring. "I think you should take a look at." "Thank you, Elder Mercia," Michael said, his voice oozing with a veneer of gratitude. "You have fulfilled your end of the bargain." Elder Mercia nodded, her expression a mix of relief and uncertainty. "We have kept our word, Dark Lord. May we trust that you will honor our agreement?" Michael's smile widened, a gleam of mischief glinting in his eyes. "Fear not, Elder Mercia. I always keep my promises." With that, Michael's figure began to fade, slowly vanishing into thin air. They watched in awe and disbelief as the Dark Lord disappeared, their minds filled with a mix of uncertainty and resignation. They had made their pact with the devil, but now they were left to face the consequences of their choices. Elder Mercia exhaled deeply, her voice barely a whisper. "May the gods be with us, for we have made a deal with the devil." In the depths of the ocean, far removed from the bustling city of Sea Serpent Hall, Michael materialized amidst the encompassing darkness. The water around him seemed lifeless, devoid of any signs of marine existence. Undeterred by the immense pressure of the deep sea, he settled himself on the ocean floor. With a simple gesture, Michael accessed the space ring once again. A faint, golden glow emanated from within as he retrieved an artifact, a glistening, intricately crafted crystal. He held it in his hand, its true nature and purpose unknown to him. However, such details mattered little to Michael. What truly captivated his attention was the pulsating energy it radiated. In a deliberate and measured manner, Michael began to connect with the energy contained within the golden crystal. Like a conduit, he absorbed the energy, allowing it to flow through him. The power surged within his being, its essence transforming into experience points. Absorbing energy, converting the energy into experience points. Experience points converted 400,000. Experience points converted 500,000. As the energy dissipated into Michael's being, he felt the familiar sensation of growth and progression. Experience points accumulated, fueling his ascent to even greater heights. The absorbed energy became a stepping stone on his path toward the celestial stage. In this dark and lifeless abyss of the ocean floor, Michael continued to absorb the energy, converting it into the currency of his advancement. With each artifact that passed through his hands, Michael converted its power into valuable experience points. The tranquil depths of the ocean provided him with the solitude he needed to focus on absorbing the artifacts. As the energy of the artifacts flowed into him, Michael felt his cultivation stage advancing, pushing him closer to the next levels of his half-celestial power. Surrounded by the serene and shadowy expanse of the ocean, Michael embraced the transformative energy of the artifacts. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half-celestial stage level 5. Absorbing energy, converting the energy into experience points. Experience points converted 500,000. Experience points converted 800,000. With the absorption of the last artifact, Michael's cultivation journey reached a halt. He had ascended to the 7th level of the half-celestial stage. Only 4 more levels remained between him and the celestial stage, where the true power of a godly being awaited him. Congratulations to host Michael for leveling up. The current stage is half-celestial stage level 7. This achievement brought him one step closer to his ultimate goal. Once he attained the celestial stage, the system would come online, triggering the tribulation that would propel him towards the next level of godhood, demigod. Chapter 1024. The battle between the gods is nearing. Chapter 1024. The battle between the gods is nearing. The evening sky was adorned with dark rain clouds, casting a gloomy hue over the horizon. Thunder rumbled in the distance, accompanied by intermittent flashes of lightning that illuminated the vast canyon below. The air was charged with anticipation as if nature itself sensed the impending storm. Amidst this atmospheric display, Evan soared through the turbulent skies toward the kingdom of Breedia. His mind was consumed with worry for Victoria, his beloved, who had been taken hostage by the treacherous Dark Queen. Determined to ensure her safety, Evan focused all his energy on reaching her side. As he flew, a thought crossed Evan's mind, seeking help from Selisi, the former queen of Nagaland. He knew that Selisi possessed great knowledge and powers that could potentially dispel the poison coursing through Victoria's veins. However, the fear of endangering Victoria's life prevented him from reaching out to Selisi. He believed that if he exposed the situation to Celici, the Dark Lord might activate the poison and bring harm to Victoria. In his heart, Evan harbored conflicting emotions. On one hand, he desired to save Victoria at any cost. On the other hand, he felt compelled to keep the truth hidden to protect her from further harm. Celici observed Evan using a glass orb while floating above Victoria's mansion as Evan made his way toward this mansion in Kingdom Breedia. She blended seamlessly with the dark clouds hovering high wealth and opulence of its inhabitants. But the tranquility of the mansion grounds had been shattered, replaced by the remnants of in the sky while keeping a close eye on the scene below. The mansion stood proudly, a grand structure amidst the chaos. Its walls were adorned with intricate designs, a testament to the wealth and opulence of its inhabitants. But the tranquility of the mansion grounds had been shattered, replaced by the remnants of a fierce battle. Lifeless bodies of soldiers lay scattered across the ground, their armors cracked open, and bodies riddled with multiple wounds. Arrows, sharp and deadly, had found their mark, leaving visible holes in the fallen soldiers' forms. The once pristine mansion ground was now stained with the vivid red of spilled blood, a chilling testament to the violence that had unfolded. The grandeur of the estate had been marred by destruction. Fountains stood broken, their gentle streams replaced by a solemn silence. Statues, once graceful and elegant, now bore the scars of combat, their delicate features chipped and broken. This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M hovering behind Celici was a peculiar figure, a humanoid body with the majestic head of an eagle. This unique creature, known as Stormwing, was one of Sales's secretive henchmen, adept at carrying out her clandestine tasks. Stormwing, Evan has been compromised, Sales's voice rang out with an icy tone, her gaze piercing. The evidence pointed clearly to the Dark Queen's involvement, considering the soldiers in the mansion had been mercilessly slain. The Dark Queen's signature aerial assault left no chance for the soldiers to fight back. Yet, she had spared Victoria's life, leaving strategic leverage against Evan, Victoria's betrothed. Stormwing, being no stranger to intelligence, understood the situation without requiring further explanation. It was evident that the Dark Queen intended to strike a bargain with Evan, exploiting his emotional ties to Victoria. "My lady, how would you like me to handle Evan? It poses a challenge since you have elevated him to the status of a god," Stormwing voiced, its rough voice reflecting its beastly nature. Celici shook her head in response to Stormwing's suggestion. "You are mistaken, Stormwing. The god-killing arrows, even if retrieved by Noah, can only slay either him or the Dark Lord. They are single-use weapons, unable to be replicated or merged into a new form. Once the Dark Lord perishes, the arrows themselves will cease to exist," Celici revealed. Through the information shared by the evil version of Andreas, now merged with Noah, Celici had gained insights into the true nature of the god-killing arrows. However, unknown to Noah and the majority of beings in the realm of gods, there was no universal weapon capable of slaying all gods. Each god possessed unique characteristics and vulnerabilities, making it impossible for a single weapon to be effective against all of them. The details surrounding the forging of the god-killing arrows by Xianxia and her companions remained a mystery to most gods. In fact, the Pantheon deliberately kept the existence of such powerful weapons concealed from many gods to prevent widespread panic within the realm. Celici had her suspicions regarding Xianxia's methods. She believed that Xianxia had utilized her time travel abilities to uncover ancient texts, delving into forgotten knowledge on how to craft the arrows capable of vanquishing the Dark Lord. Given that the Dark Lord and Noah, the god of light, were born as twins in the mortal realm, the god-killing arrows held the potential to eliminate either of them. If Sales's understanding of the Pantheon proved accurate, she surmised that the Pantheon must possess a means to subdue each individual god within their realm, should any god rebel against their rule. However, the details of such methods remained closely guarded secrets, even to Celici herself. "Then how do you propose we handle Evan, my lady? The longer we allow Evan to roam freely, the greater the potential damage he can inflict upon our entire operation," stated Stormwing, observing the calculating smile that crept across Sales's face. "If Evan has indeed struck a deal with the Dark Lord, his actions will undoubtedly revolve around the life of Victoria. The Dark Lord will undoubtedly use Victoria as a pawn to manipulate Evan into carrying out his bidding. However, if we eliminate this pawn, Victoria, the Dark Lord's hold over Evan will crumble. Evan is a valuable asset that we cannot afford to let slip away," explained Celici. Stormwing, who had served under Celici for many years, recognized the shrewd and cunning aura emanating from her words. He understood that Sales's every action held deeper meaning and intricate plans. Many believed that it was Xianxia's leadership that brought about the decline of Nagaland, even her stepdaughter Gaia. However, only a select few, such as Stormwing, knew that the decline of Nagaland was actually part of Xianxia's grand design. For years, Stormwing and his team had carried out covert operations, targeting key figures within Nagaland and its allies, effectively weakening the kingdom from within. By destabilizing Nagaland, Xianxia removed it from the equation and eliminated a formidable ally that the Dark Lord could have exploited. Xianxia's strategic moves ensured that the Dark Lord had no interest in claiming Nagaland for himself. Presently, Xianxia was utilizing Nagaland's hidden reserves of poisonous veins to produce potent poison weapons, which would prove crucial in the impending war against the Dark Lord. Eliminate Victoria, Stormwing. Make it appear as though her death is accidental. If the Dark Lord truly struck a deal with Evan, we cannot orchestrate her demise to make it seem like the Dark Lord was responsible. It would raise suspicions and Evan might grow wary. However, if her death appears to be an unfortunate accident, the Dark Lord will lose his hold over Evan. This will enable Evan to focus his energies on defeating the Dark Lord's army, without the distraction of his fiancée. I can channel his grief and anger towards our advantage, Xianxia coldly commanded Stormwing, instructing him to kill Victoria. While Xianxia was aiding Noah in collecting the god-killing arrows, she was well aware that 2 of the arrows were already in possession of the Dark Lord. Hence, Noah would require all the support he could muster to retrieve those arrows during their eventual confrontation. Xianxia was also confident that the Dark Lord would spare no effort in his fight against Noah, amassing his formidable army. Therefore, she planned to allocate a portion of her own army, which she was currently amassing, to aid Noah in his battle. As Noah clashed with the Dark Lord, her forces would engage the Dark Lord's army, ensuring their destruction. When should this be carried out, my lady? Confidently inquired Stormwing. To him, staging a murder to appear as an accident was a simple task. Give Evan a few more days with Victoria, then carry out her demise next week, Xianxia replied, displaying no remorse for her decision. In Xianxia's mind, anyone could be sacrificed in the fight against the Dark Lord. Shall I take my leave, my lady? Inquired Stormwing, bowing his head slightly. Xianxia responded as Stormwing unfurled his majestic gray wings and took flight. With a single powerful flap, he soared through the dark clouds, swiftly disappearing from sight. Once Stormwing had departed, Xianxia retrieved a glowing silver orb from her pocket. The orb emanated a pulsating golden light from its core. What is it, Andreas? Xianxia questioned, addressing the glowing orb. We have a problem. Noah's bitchy little sister, Sabrina, is on her way to dissuade him from engaging in battle with the Dark Lord. Something must be done, Andreas informed. Noah will not heed her words. We don't need to intervene but rather redirect Sabrina to see the Dark Lord. If we're fortunate, Sabrina's presence may dampen the Dark Lord's eagerness to fight Noah, serving as an advantage for us. When Sabrina arrives to meet Noah, instruct her to visit the Dark Castle, Xianxia instructed. I don't believe it's a wise decision. What if the Dark Lord attempts to manipulate Sabrina for his own purposes? Have you forgotten who we are dealing with, the Dark Lord himself? Andreas growled, expressing his concerns. However, Xianxia remained composed. Do as I say, Andreas. The battle between Noah and the Dark Lord is inevitable. We simply need to ensure Noah emerges victorious, Xianxia declared firmly, clenching the orb in her hand and shattering it into pieces. As the impending battle between the Dark Lord and Noah drew near, Xianxia had important matters to attend to, one of which was the mass production of various pills and potions for her army. To accomplish this, Xianxia sought out the current renowned alchemist in the world, Olivia Palmer, who coincidentally happened to be the Dark Lord's former disciple. Xianxia had been closely monitoring Olivia's activities ever since Ghost revealed himself as the Dark Lord, which led to Olivia severing her ties with him. Based on Xianxia's information and intelligence network, Olivia was no longer affiliated with the Dark Lord. However, she still possessed the knowledge and teachings he had imparted to her in the field of alchemy. Xianxia planned to leverage Olivia's expertise and enlist her aid in supporting Noah's battle against the Dark Lord and his formidable army. Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. Chapter 1025, Diana Winston and the Light Flames. After commanding Stormwing to carry out the task of eliminating Victoria, Xianxia departed from the Elon continent and arrived in her secluded pocket dimension. As she materialized within her castle, she made her way directly to her personal quarters. Xianxia's room exuded an aura of warmth and comfort. Adorned with rich red curtains, a cozy bed, and an array of furnishings, it emanated a sense of luxury. Countless books, maps, and scrolls adorned the room, reflecting Xianxia's thirst for knowledge and strategy. The soft glow of candlelight illuminated the space, casting a gentle, flickering ambience. Portraits of Xianxia adorned one of the walls, capturing her commanding presence and enigmatic nature. Upon entering the room, Xianxia securely closed the door behind her. Retrieving a dagger from her space ring, she made a small cut on her palm, allowing droplets of blood to fall. With her bleeding hand, she pressed her palm against the door. In response, intricate crimson runes illuminated on the surface, accompanied by a distinct clicking sound. Satisfied with the enhanced security, Xianxia directed her attention toward one of the portraits hanging on the wall. Studying the portrait intently, Xianxia shook her palm, causing droplets of blood to splatter upon it. As the crimson stains connected with the portrait, a gentle hum resonated from within. Suddenly, bright beams of light shot forth from the portrait's eyes, enveloping Xianxia in their radiant glow. Within a blink of an eye, she vanished from the room, leaving behind only the illuminated portrait. Using the teleported in Xianxia's room, she appeared in one of the special prisons of the Sky Hall. Stepping into this prison, which was an empty hall, Xianxia's gaze fell upon a solitary glass cage occupying the center. Within the confines of the cage, a woman with flowing black hair sat in deep meditation. Her hair gracefully fluttered behind her, and a palpable aura of power radiated from her very being. Approaching the glass cage with measured steps, Xianxia extended her hand to touch the cool surface. A mischievous smile tugged at the corner of her lips as she whispered, "Wake up, Harriet." After Diana revealed the shocking truth that the Dark Lord was her own son, the Sky Hall deemed her dangerous and locked her away in a specially designed cage. For an entire year, Diana had been confined within the cold, restrictive confines of the cage. Its purpose was twofold: to prevent her from accessing her powers and to isolate her from any human contact. Only Xianxia, who harbored a deep-rooted hatred for the Dark Lord, would visit Diana, ensuring her captivity remained absolute. As Xianxia stood before the glass cage, she observed Diana's weary expression. The once fierce and proud woman now appeared diminished, her spirit dampened by the prolonged imprisonment. Diana's powers, once formidable, were nullified by the cage's enchantments, leaving her defenseless and vulnerable. A mixture of pity and satisfaction flickered in Xianxia's eyes as she regarded Diana. The woman who had given birth to the Dark Lord, the one who had caused so much chaos and destruction, was now reduced to a mere captive. For Xianxia, this was both a form of justice and a means to further her own ambitions. As Xianxia taunted Diana, she slowly opened her eyes, her gaze steady and resolute. Unfazed by Xianxia's provocations, Diana refused to give her the satisfaction of seeing her beg for information about her family. She knew Xianxia reveled in the power she held over her, but Diana was determined to maintain her composure. Xianxia smirked, relishing in her role as the bearer of ominous news. "It is happening, Diana, or should I say Harriet Hunt," she taunted, emphasizing Diana's past identity. With a calm demeanor, Diana responded, "Your two sons are preparing to fight each other. There is nothing to stop them from killing each other. Especially Noah, he is pretty pissed off because of what the Dark Lord, his own brother, did." This chapter upload first at NWSB. C0M. Xianxia snickered at Diana's words, reveling in the chaos that was about to unfold. "Dean might have swung his sword, but it was you in the Sky Hall who orchestrated Alicia's death. You could have stopped it, but you didn't," Diana accused. Xianxia's laughter filled the air, a twisted symphony of malice. "Look at you, still blaming the Sky Hall, even after I've told you that your two sons are destined to clash." Diana remained steadfast, refusing to be swayed by Xianxia's manipulations. "I know my sons, Xianxia. They will not kill each other. But perhaps you should be more concerned for your own well-being. Noah may be forgiving, but my other son, the Dark Lord, is not known for his mercy." Enraged by Diana's calm composure, Xianxia retrieved a crystal adorned with intricate runes. This crystal, a rare possession held only by a select few within the Sky Hall, granted Xianxia control over Diana. Establishing a mental connection with the crystal, Xianxia tightly clenched her fist, causing a specific rune to illuminate on the glass cage. The effect was immediate and agonizing. Diana growled in pain as the rune activated, triggering her pain receptors to overload. Waves of excruciating sensation coursed through her body, causing blood to trickle from her nose and eyes. Xianxia, driven by her sadistic tendencies, intensified her grip on the crystal, prolonging Diana's torment. With each surge of energy she directed into the crystal, Diana's suffering escalated. The pain became unbearable, pushing Diana to her limits. However, realizing her time was limited, Celici relented, willing the crystal to release its hold on Diana. The agony subsided, leaving Diana panting and weakened from the ordeal. As much as I love these little torture sessions, Celici sneered, I am pressed for time. With Noah poised to fight the Dark Lord, it falls upon me to ensure Noah's victory and put an end to the Dark Lord's reign before it even begins. Saelsis' gaze bore into Diana's, a chilling intensity emanating from her eyes. To ensure Noah's success, I need the power of your light flames. We both know they rightfully belong to Noah, the god of light. Upon hearing Saelsis' request, Diana emitted a pained chuckle, spitting blood from her mouth. Saelsis' demand did not catch Diana off guard, for she knew that one day the Sky Hall or Celici herself would come seeking her primordial flame, the light flames. However, Diana had no intention of surrendering her primordial flames to Celici. With a resolute tone, Diana retorted, I have a better idea. Why don't you go fuck yourself? Saelsis' lips curled into a sinister smirk, seemingly unfazed by Diana's defiance. Is that how a proper lady speaks, Diana? It seems the Dark Lord has inherited his mother's traits. He truly is his mother's son. But, as I mentioned before, I find myself pressed for time. Hence, I have brought forth a little trump card that might persuade you to relinquish your light flames. With a swift flick of her wrist, Celici conjured a mirror crafted from shimmering light. Within the mirror's surface, an unsettling scene unfolded. A battered and bruised man with a long beard, unkempt hair and countless wounds appeared before Diana's eyes. Pools of blood formed beneath him as he lay unconscious in a dungeon adorned with various implements of torture, such as chains, barbed wire, and a collection of menacing daggers. The man, chained to a wall, seemed to be in a state of profound suffering. As Diana's gaze met the man's visage, her heart skipped a beat, a surge of anger and anguish piercing through her. The man was none other than Ethan, her beloved husband. As Diana's gaze shifted to the orc beside Ethan, her heart sank further. The orc stood tall and imposing, his hulking form exuding an aura of brutality. His muscular physique was covered in coarse, greenish skin, adorned with scars and markings earned from countless battles. His beady eyes glinted with a sadistic gleam, and his crooked tusks protruded menacingly from his lower jaw. Release the light flames, Celici uttered with a chilling tone. Each time you refuse my companion here, she pointed towards the orc, to carry out Saelsis' ruthless commands. Will delight in dismembering your husband, limb by agonizing limb. Saelsis' words hung in the air, their weight suffocating. The orc, known for his expertise in inflicting unimaginable pain, stood ready to carry out Saelsis' ruthless commands. Diana was stuck between tough dire choices once again. But while she was stuck in her thoughts, Celici gave the command to the orc. Take his right arm, coldly said Celici. Diana's heart sank as Saelsis' command was swiftly executed by the orc. The sound of Ethan's agonized screams pierced the air, reverberating through the desolate hall. Horror consumed Diana as she watched in despair as her husband's right arm was violently torn from his shoulder. Blood gushed from the wound, staining the surroundings with its crimson hue. Now if you don't want your husband to lose the other arm, I'll recommend you to give me the light flames. The orc presented the severed arm to Celici, a grim reminder of the barbarity Diana had witnessed. Saelsis' cold words cut through the air, leaving Diana with a harrowing ultimatum: surrender the light flames or risk her husband suffering further torment. No. Diana's voice cracked with anguish, her plea desperate and filled with anguish. The sight of Ethan's suffering fueled her determination, yet she remained torn between protecting her precious power and saving her beloved spouse. Celici nodded at the orc, worldly telling him to rip Ethan's other arm. However, before the orc could touch Ethan, Diana roared. Stop it! Diana screamed. Celici observed Diana's agony and her reluctant submission with a twisted satisfaction. The orc halted, its hand frozen in midair, as Diana's desperate plea echoed through the prison's cold walls. Stop hurting him. I'll give you the light flames. Reluctantly, Diana made a painful decision, her voice laden with a mixture of anger and despair. She agreed to surrender the light flames, knowing that it was the only way to spare Ethan from further suffering. With a heavy heart, she closed her eyes, allowing the deep connection to the light flames within her soul to surface. A radiant glow enveloped her body as the powerful essence of the light flames materialized in a dazzling display. Taking the form of a luminous star, the flames exuded a brilliant energy. Celici, seizing the opportunity, clenched the crystal in her hand, triggering a rune that swiftly extracted the primordial light flames from Diana's being. In an instant, the flames were whisked away to the mortal realm, where they would seek their destined host, Noah Winston. That wasn't so hard, was it? Satisfied with her accomplishment, Celici turned her back to leave the prison, her dark intentions evident. As she prepared to take her first step, Diana's words pierced the air with chilling determination. "Kill me now, Celici. If you don't, I will get out of this cage, I will find you and I will kill you." "That is a promise." Diana's voice dripped with a cold resolve, her eyes radiating an intense and unyielding determination. Chapter 1026. Sabrina's plea to her brothers. Noah stood in awe as he gazed at the meticulously crafted armor before him. Its surface gleamed with a pristine white hue, reflecting the light in a mesmerizing manner. Intricate golden linings adorned every edge, accentuating the armor's regal appearance. Runes, delicately engraved, formed a pattern that seemed to dance across the surface, imbuing the armor with a mystical aura. Beside the armor, a pair of swords rested with lion heads adorning their hilts. The swords emanated a sense of power and elegance, their blades polished to a mirror-like sheen. The lion heads bore a fierce expression, a symbol of strength and courage. Andreas, Noah's trusted advisor, stepped forward, his eyes fixed on the magnificent armor. He began to unravel its origins and significance. "This armor," he began, his voice filled with reverence, "was crafted by the Han Torum dwarves. We both know that they were master artisans known for their exceptional craftsmanship." Andreas continued, "It is a pity they disbanded their clan due to the Dark Lord's impending threat. This armor, Noah, is one of their greatest creations. It is said to provide unparalleled protection and enhance the wearer's abilities." Noah's eyes widened with anticipation. He understood the gravity of the upcoming battle against the Dark Lord and the need for every advantage. "Teacher, this armor?" "It is beautiful," Andreas nodded, a solemn expression crossing his face. "Yes, Noah, it is beautiful. But the armor is imbued with ancient enchantments, enhancing not only your defense but also your agility and strength. It will be a formidable asset in your quest to defeat the Dark Lord." Noah reached out, running his fingers over the intricate engravings on the armor. He could feel the power resonating within it. "Thank you, teacher. We need every advantage we can get," Noah declared, his voice filled with a newfound resolve. Andreas placed a hand on Noah's shoulder, his gaze reflecting unwavering loyalty. "Remember, Noah, you are the hope of this realm. The fate of countless lives rests on your shoulders. This armor is but a tool to aid you in your noble cause." As Noah admired the intricate details of the Han Torum armor, little did he know that the man standing beside him was not the trustworthy mentor he had come to rely upon. This version of Andreas was merely an evil fragment of his soul, pretending to be his guide, subtly manipulating him to fulfill Sales's sinister agenda. Andreas, or rather the impostor, maintained a facade of unwavering loyalty, his voice filled with a deceptive warmth. "Noah, this armor will undoubtedly be the key to your victory against the Dark Lord. Trust in its power and let it guide you in the upcoming battle." Noah, consumed by his determination to defeat his twin brother and bring an end to the Dark Lord's reign, eagerly accepted his words without suspicion. He believed in the bond he had forged with Andreas, unaware that it had been tainted by deceit. Together they made plans, discussing strategies and tactics to confront the Dark Lord. Noah shared his deepest fears and vulnerabilities, trusting his mentor with his innermost thoughts. Little did he know that every word spoken in confidence was being relayed back to Celici, the puppeteer pulling the strings. As the days passed, Noah continued to train relentlessly, honing his skills and donning the Han Torum armor, unaware that his every move was being scrutinized by the impostor beside him. The evil version of Andreas reveled in his role, gathering information and plotting his next move. In Noah's eyes, he saw only the reflection of the mentor he had grown to trust, but behind that facade lurked a darker intent. The impostor understood that as Noah's powers grew, so too did the threat he posed to the Dark Lord's reign. At the moment, Noah stood atop the serene mountain peak, surrounded by the breathtaking beauty of nature. The rising sun painted the sky with vibrant hues, while the distant ocean expanded endlessly, its waves crashing against the shoreline. The tranquil atmosphere provided a sense of peace and clarity, a much-needed respite from the impending battle that loomed ahead. Lost in his training, Noah suddenly noticed a figure gracefully soaring through the sky towards him. A smile spread across his face as he recognized the familiar form of his beloved younger sister, Sabrina. With a soft landing she approached him, her eyes sparkling with joy and her heart filled with anticipation. Without hesitation Sabrina lunged forward, embracing her big brother with all her might. Noah reciprocated the embrace, holding her tightly against his chest. Tears streamed down Sabrina's cheeks as she whispered, "I missed you so much, Noah." Noah's voice trembled with emotion as he replied, "I missed you too, Sabrina. You have no idea how much." They stood locked in a heartfelt embrace, the weight of their separation lifting with each passing moment. Finally releasing each other, Noah wiped away Sabrina's tears and gazed into her eyes. Sabrina's eyes filled with concern as she asked Noah about their parents and their elder sister Rowena. Her voice quivered with worry as she hoped for positive news. Noah took a deep breath, his gaze filled with a mixture of sadness and determination. "Father and mother are imprisoned by the Sky Hall," Noah revealed, his voice tinged with a hint of frustration. Sabrina's eyes widened in understanding, for she too was aware of the Sky Hall's cruel actions. "They will only be released after I defeat Ghost," Noah continued, using the name by which he referred to the Dark Lord. Sabrina's brows furrowed, and her voice trembled as she pleaded with him. "Noah, there must be another way. We shouldn't have to fight our own brother," Sabrina implored, her voice filled with a mix of desperation and sadness. She clutched Noah's arm, her eyes searching his for any sign of hesitation. Noah shook his head gently, his expression resolute. "Sabrina, you must understand. The Dark Lord is not our family anymore. He has embraced darkness and poses a threat to the world. If I don't stop him, countless lives will be lost." Sabrina's eyes welled up with tears as she struggled to accept Noah's words. The reality of the situation weighed heavily on her. The thought of her own brother transformed into a malevolent force difficult to comprehend. As Noah's words sank in, Sabrina's mind raced with memories of her encounters with Ghost. Even before learning his true identity as her brother, she had always felt an unexplainable connection to him. When Sabrina was captured by vampires, she had secretly prayed for her brother to come and save her, and to her surprise, it was Ghost who appeared to rescue her. Despite the world labeling Ghost as the embodiment of evil, Sabrina refused to accept that her brother was truly wicked. She held on to the belief that there was still goodness within him, even in the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary. "If we can find Rowena, she will be able to release mother and father. She wouldn't allow her own brothers to fight to the death," Sabrina asserted, clenching her fist with determination, yearning for their elder sister to be by their side. Noah sighed, knowing that Rowena's whereabouts remained a mystery. Many believed she had perished, but Noah knew deep down that it would take more than a celestial beam to extinguish her indomitable spirit. "This battle between Ghost and me must happen, Sabrina. He took Alicia's life. She was my wife. I must avenge her," Noah confessed, his voice tinged with a hint of vulnerability. "Noah, you must understand that Alicia had the opportunity to walk away," Sabrina explained, her voice filled with empathy. But her heart was consumed by the intense hatred she felt towards Ghost for what he had done to her brother. It was that overwhelming hatred that fueled her determination to confront him. As Sabrina spoke, Noah raised his hand, signifying his desire to interject and share his own perspective. "If I were to kill Gaia, Ghost's wife, would that be enough for him to forgive me?" Noah posed the question, his voice heavy with the weight of their complicated family dynamics. "The feud between Ghost and the Sky Hall has endured for far too long, Sabrina. I must bring an end to it regardless of the fact that he is my brother," Noah concluded, his heart burdened by the difficult choices he had to make. "You should return to the Aquilan realm and stay there until the battle is over, Sabi." Noah's voice trembled with emotion, his eyes welling up with tears. His love and concern for his sister were palpable in his words. "If something happens to me in the battle, I need you to be safe and find a way to save our family." Sabrina's heart skipped a beat upon hearing Noah's plea. Her mind and emotions were thrown into turmoil. On one hand there was Noah, her brother whom she had known and grown up with since childhood. On the other hand there was Ghost, her recently discovered brother who had been abandoned by their mother. Sabrina couldn't bear the thought of either of her brothers falling in a battle, regardless of how long she had known them. "I refuse to stand by and watch my brothers fight each other. I will find a way to stop both of you," Sabrina declared, her voice filled with newfound determination. Noah looked slightly surprised at her resolve, but deep inside he sighed, understanding Sabrina's naivety. As he looked into her eyes, Sabrina embraced him once again, holding him tightly. "I will not let our family be torn apart," she whispered, her voice filled with conviction. Noah returned her embrace, a gentle smile forming on his lips. However, unbeknownst to Noah, as Sabrina hugged him, Sabrina retrieved a teleportation scroll from her belongings. Activating it swiftly, she spoke resolutely, "I am doing this for the sake of our family." In an instant, a radiant white light enveloped Sabrina, whisking her away before Noah could react. She disappeared from his sight, leaving him with a mix of emotions. Before Noah could react, Sabrina vanished from his sight, transported to another location. With unwavering determination, Sabrina set her sights on the dark castle, where she intended to confront Ghost, her other brother. Chapter 1027. Sabrina's plea to her brother's eye. After using the teleportation scroll, Sabrina found herself at the edge of the dark ocean. It was the first time she had laid her eyes upon this foreboding body of water, as her previous knowledge had only come from books and newspapers. As she stood on the beach with its black sand, Sabrina understood why it was called the Dark Ocean. Stretching out before her was an endless expanse of black water, while the sky above was filled with menacing storm clouds and lightning bolts illuminating the darkened sky. The wind howled with an eerie sound, and in the distance she could spot several tornadoes swirling between the sky and the ocean, forming an otherworldly bridge. In the far horizon she caught a glimpse of her brother's floating mountain, the Dark Lord's stronghold, hovering above the dark ocean. Sabrina knew that once she crossed the boundary line, known as the Void Line, she would no longer be able to rely on arch-energy to fly. So, reaching the floating mountain by air was not an option. With a flick of her wrist, Sabrina summoned a golden cube, one of the many artifacts she had acquired during her time at Mazroth Academy. As she lightly tapped the cube with her toe, it transformed into a magnificent golden boat. This boat was a gift from Wulfric, the headmaster of Mazroth, awarded to Sabrina for her victory in a duel. It had wings attached to its sides, resembling a fantastical creature. Sabrina climbed aboard the boat, grasping the paddle firmly. The wings on the boat began to flap, harnessing the power of the wind through intricate gears and mechanisms, propelling the boat forward with remarkable speed. As Sabrina's boat forged ahead, battling against the tumultuous waves and the raging storm, it shuddered under the relentless assault. Nevertheless, Sabrina remained resolute, maintaining her steady grip on the paddle. Though she knew that her brother, the Dark Lord, would not be awaiting her in the dark castle atop the floating mountain, she held on to the hope that he would be watching from a distance, ready to meet her. The closer she drew to the towering floating mountain, the more ferocious the weather became. Dark clouds loomed overhead, unleashing their fury in the form of thunderous roars and flashes of lightning. Amidst the tempest, Sabrina caught sight of figures clad in gleaming silver and sky-blue armor, their wings of feathers shimmering in the stormy sky. With a single glance, she recognized them as the Skyhall Angels, the very beings who had brought their wrath upon the world since her mother, Diana, revealed the truth about the Dark Lord being her son. Their presence had ushered in a wave of change, and they had captured the Dark Castle. Sabrina couldn't help but ponder why the Dark Lord's army had retreated rather than putting up a fight. The whereabouts of his vampires and undead forces remained a mystery, leaving her with lingering questions and doubts. Yet, for now, she set aside those concerns, pushing them to the recesses of her mind. All she could do was cling to the hope that her brother, the Dark Lord, would come to her. In her heart, she believed that making her way toward the Dark Castle and relying on the chance that he might be watching over his stronghold was her only avenue to meet him. As the boat battled the fierce waves, a group of Skyhall Angels descended from the dark clouds, their graceful forms hovering in the sky. Their ethereal presence enveloped the air around them, their wings outstretched as they encircled Sabrina's boat. Among them, one angel stood out, adorned in silver armor with intricate gold and crimson-red linings that shimmered in the dim light. With a determined expression, he removed his helmet, revealing fiery red hair and a dark-skinned face marked by a prominent scar running across his left eye. His voice resonated with a mixture of curiosity and disdain as he asked, "What business do you have, venturing towards the Dark Castle?" Sabrina's eyes met his, and without hesitation she replied, "I am hoping to meet the Dark Lord." The angel's snicker carried a hint of bitter resentment as he clenched his fist, his rage simmering beneath the surface. The memories of the Nagaland War flooded his mind, where he believed his brother had been slain by the Dark Lord. The pain of that loss burned within him, fueling his determination. "You hope to meet the Dark Lord?" he scoffed. "Do you not know the atrocities he has committed? The lives he has destroyed?" Sabrina maintained her composure, refusing to engage in a futile argument with the enraged angel. She understood the prejudice held by some of the Skyhall angels towards her and her family, but she also knew the truth was far more complex than their narrow perspectives allowed. The angel's voice dripped with venom as he continued his tirade, his anger palpable. Your brother, that evil scumbag, has brought darkness upon this world. Your mother's decision to give birth to such a devil has caused nothing but pain and suffering. Silently, Sabrina bore the weight of his words. She was well aware of the judgments and accusations that had been cast upon her family. Despite her inner turmoil, she knew it was futile to argue or reason with the angel. The prejudice against her and her family was deeply ingrained, and she understood that attempting to change their minds in this moment would be an exercise in futility. The angel's voice grew colder as he delivered his final words. The Dark Lord is not in his castle, it is under the control of the Skyhall. Consider yourself fortunate to have been admitted to Mazeroth and granted protection. But know this, in my eyes you and your entire family can rot in hell. If I were you, I would fly away and disappear from my sight, Sabrina finally spoke, her voice carrying a warning that resonated through the dark ocean. Do you think I am foolish for venturing into the depths of the dark ocean, knowing that the Dark Lord is not in the castle? Have you ever stopped to consider that I am here because I know he will be watching, observing everything within his domain? Do you truly believe he would allow you to retain control of the castle for long? Sabrina's questions hung in the air, causing the Skyhall angels to pause and contemplate the true meaning behind her words. I am here to talk to the Dark Lord, and if you get out of my way I will take him somewhere else and talk. Otherwise he will slaughter you all. Sabrina's words carried a sense of determination and an underlying warning, causing a flicker of uncertainty to pass through the angel's eyes. As the angel leader snickered, his twisted grin revealing his dark intentions, he confidently asserted, although I cannot kill you, little girl, I can certainly ensure you leave this place with a few broken bones. Consider it a lesson in humility. With those words, the angel began his descent, his wings gracefully guiding him downward towards Sabrina's boat. The intricate contraptions embedded in their armor, powered by arch-energy crystals from the Aquilon realm, granted the angels the ability to fly and enhance their combat prowess. However, Sabrina remained composed and steadfast, her gaze unwavering as the angel landed on her boat with a resounding thud. Ignoring the threatening presence before her, she refused to flinch or display any sign of fear. Raising his hand, the angel prepared to deliver a forceful slap to Sabrina, confident in his ability to intimidate her. As the angel leader's hand descended towards Sabrina, a sudden eruption of hot blood splattered across her face. The angel leader's expression twisted in agony and confusion as he stared at his arm, which now ended abruptly at the missing wrist. Blood sprayed from the severed limb, painting the air in crimson hues. A moment of shock and disbelief held the other angels captive as their eyes followed the dark trajectory of a floating sword. The black blade glistened with a macabre sheen, dripping with the evidence of its lethal strike. With a steady and deliberate motion, the sword soared through the air, homing in on its intended target, the Dark Lord himself. Sabrina turned her head and beheld the awe-inspiring sight of her brother, the Dark Lord, suspended in the air. His commanding presence radiated power, accentuated by the spread of his black metallic wings. The wind tousled his dark hair, framing his stoic countenance as his cold gaze fixated upon the angels, their impending doom evident in his piercing eyes. As the Dark Lord returned to his domain, the angels of the Skyhall quivered in fear, witnessing his formidable presence firsthand. Their eyes met his for a fleeting moment, before he shifted his gaze towards them. A sinister darkness enveloped the area, as his eyes flickered with an eerie hue, ignited by the ominous flames that danced within. Though the Skyhall angels boasted their arch-energy crystal-infused armor, the Dark Lord held absolute dominion over the dark ocean. Crackling bolts of dark lightning emanated from his outstretched hand, an awe-inspiring display of his power. Dark Lord, the angels muttered, their voices tinged with apprehension. However, before they could mount any defense, the Dark Lord unleashed a barrage of lightning bolts, each one piercing through their heads with deadly precision. In an instant, the angels plummeted from the sky, lifeless forms descending like fallen flies. The Dark Lord's might was unrivaled, and the Skyhall angels were but feeble adversaries before him. Once the fallen angels lay still upon the ocean's surface, the Dark Lord approached Sabrina, his intense gaze locking with hers. In her desperation, Sabrina mustered the courage to plead with him, hoping he would grant her a moment to speak. "Please, Ghost, give me the opportunity to talk to you," Sabrina beseeched, her voice filled with a mixture of hope and uncertainty, her heart yearning for a chance to reach her brother's troubled soul. If you are here to stop the fight between your brother Noah and me, you are going to be disappointed. Soon, only one of us will stand and the other will fall, the Dark Lord declared with an air of finality. Chapter 1028. Sabrina's plea to her brothers. 3. After dispatching the Skyhall angels, Michael carried Sabrina in his arms and swiftly flew away from the dark ocean. Within minutes, they landed on the worn-out premises of an abandoned castle in Kingdom Giselle. Michael, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon, spoke with a solemn tone. "Sabrina, why have you come here?" he inquired, his eyes scanning the vast expanse before him. "You know why I am here. I want to stop my brothers from killing each other," Sabrina replied, her hands fidgeting nervously as she stood a few meters away from him on the rooftop. "Though we share the same mother, Sabrina, I am not your brother. I have never been and never will be. So, I will fight Noah not as a sibling, but as the Dark Lord, as the world has labeled me," Michael firmly asserted, unwavering in his determination to face Noah in battle. As Michael continued to gaze into the distance, Sabrina mustered her courage and closed the distance between them, taking hold of Michael's hand. "You are my brother. No matter what you think or what the world says, I don't care. You are my brother," Sabrina proclaimed, her eyes welling up with tears. Caught off guard by Sabrina's words, Michael slowly turned his head, his gaze meeting hers. "We both understand that the Skyhall seeks to manipulate the situation, forcing you and Noah into this conflict. But you too possess the strength to face any challenge. Stand against the Skyhall and destroy them," Sabrina pleaded, her words tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "I am fighting the Skyhall, Sabrina. I will destroy them, but your brother is standing in my way. Let me ask you this, Sabrina, will Noah back down from this fight?" Michael asked, his voice tinged with a mix of certainty and curiosity. As anticipated, Sabrina remained silent, unable to provide a definitive response to Michael's query. "There was a time I tried to change the world's view of me. But not anymore. I am tired of explaining my state to the world," Michael sighed, his weariness evident in his voice. "You killed his wife, Ghost. I understand she was always a bitch to you for what you did to her brother, but you could have knocked her out easily, but you killed her. Would you back off of this fight if something happened to Gaia?" Sabrina challenged Michael, her words filled with a mixture of understanding and concern. "The battle between Noah and me is inevitable," Michael replied resolutely, though Sabrina shook her head in disagreement. "This chapter upload first at NWC0M. I refuse to stand idly by and watch my brothers kill each other," Sabrina asserted, her determination shining through. "Regardless of the outcome, Sabrina, you will always have a brother," Michael said, his voice softening as he gently caressed her head. "You know, your mother abandoned me when I was a baby. Noah is hellbent on fighting me. Rowena could have put an end to the Skyhall long ago, and your father Ethan is a man who failed to protect his family. However, you, Sabrina, are innocent in all of this," Michael expressed a hint of sorrow in his eyes. "In another life, I would have cherished you as my little sister. I apologize for being unable to be the big brother you long for. To this world and your family, I am the Dark Lord who must die," Michael concluded, his gaze turning cold and the warmth of his smile fading away. "But I don't die. I am the one who kills. They tossed me into a void when I was just a baby, hoping I won't come back. But here I am." Michael's voice grew rough, and Sabrina felt the darkness around them intensify, a tangible display of his power as the god of darkness. "Ghost, I don't believe our mother willingly abandoned you. Something must have happened, I can see it in your eyes. Deep down, you know that there is more to the story. The Skyhall has manipulated everyone, including you. Please, consider this and don't let them control you," Sabrina pleaded, her voice filled with genuine concern. "The ones who were truly manipulated are your brother Noah and your sister Rowena. But regardless of the outcome, whether I win or Noah does, the Skyhall will be destroyed. You will be reunited with your family and can lead a happy life," Michael remarked, brushing Sabrina's eyes. Although he didn't openly express his love as a brother, his simple gesture conveyed his inherent kindness and care. "I understand your intentions, Sabrina. You don't want this fight. However, the decision is not mine to make. Salisi is currently manipulating your brother Noah, and I don't blame him. Killing me seems to be the only choice he believes will save his family. Tell him that I will meet him on the battlefield," Michael stated, retrieving a simple silver chain from his storage and handing it to Sabrina. "Accept this as a gift from me. I despise your Winston family, but not you. You have always held a special place in my heart." Michael smiled and gently pinched Sabrina's cheek. "After this battle concludes, your family will find their way back to you," Michael assured Sabrina. They then sat together on the rooftop, quietly contemplating the horizon. Sabrina understood that persuading her brothers to change their minds was an impossible task. Despite her desperate desire to prevent their clash, she had no means to intervene. So, she chose to sit beside Michael and spend some precious moments with him as his little sister. Eventually, Michael bid farewell to Sabrina and made his way to the mountain peak where he had first encountered Nithrol. As night fell, the mountaintop was engulfed in darkness, with only the half-moon casting a faint glow. Emerging from the shadows of the trees, Nithrol joined Michael atop the mountain. "I think you should take a look at. I told you never to return to the mortal realm until you reach the celestial stage," Nithrol admonished. "I intended to follow that instruction, but I received an anonymous note," Michael replied, handing a piece of parchment to Nithrol. Taking the parchment, Nithrol read its contents aloud. "I was planning to, but I received an anonymous note." Nithrol recited the chilling words written on the note. "Do you have any idea who might have sent this note?" Nithrol inquired. "Selisi, who else?" Michael shrugged. "The Queen of Nagaland." "So she has been working against you," Nithrol mused, to which Michael nodded in agreement. "While you were in Itnes, Evan approached me with a proposition. He wanted me and my army to join forces with him in the battle against you. I always suspected that Evan wasn't acting alone. Could he be working for Selisi?" Nithrol questioned. Michael acknowledged. "And how did you respond to his offer?" Michael asked. "What do you think?" I said no. "As far as the mortals concerned, I don't align with you or Noah. I may be the goddess of hunt, but I like to be the empress more. So the lives and livelihood of my citizens is far more important than anything," Nithrol explained. As she spoke, Michael retrieved a parchment and handed it to Nithrol. "Keep this with you and read it after my battle with Noah," Michael instructed. Placing the scroll safely in her space ring, Nithrol shifted her gaze from the distant horizon to Michael. "You should be aware that your former disciple, Olivia, is assisting Noah in creating pills and potions for his army. The Sky Hall has provided Noah with a formidable force, and every kingdom in Elon and Azer continents has been mobilized. While many kings and queens may not have wished to fight against you, they had no choice. I hope you have an army capable of standing against them," Nithrol informed Michael. "Olivia, huh?" Michael mumbled, his mind filled with memories of the time he spent teaching her alchemy. "I suspect that Noah has gathered the god-killing arrows and distributed them among his trusted allies. Olivia might be one of them. Shouldn't you try to obtain the arrows for yourself?" Nithrol questioned, but Michael shook his head. "I already possess 2 arrows, and Noah is helping me by gathering all the arrows and bringing them to me," Michael revealed. "Whatever your plan may be, you should execute it swiftly. If I were in Sales's position, I would engage you in River Town. It holds sentimental value for you, and your warships would be rendered ineffective there," Nithrol advised, sharing her insights about the upcoming battle. "I don't care where the battle takes place. I just want it to be over," Michael sighed, feeling weary from the planning and preparation. "You do realize that I won't be aiding you in the battle, right?" Nithrol asked, and Michael nodded in acknowledgement. "Don't die, Ghost. If Noah can defeat you, you stand no chance against the Pantheon. So, if you fall, better stay dead," Nithrol warned before disappearing from the mountaintop, utilizing her teleportation scroll, leaving Michael alone with his thoughts. In the solitude and silence, Michael took a deep breath and strategized his next moves. With the battle looming near, he knew his priority was to gather his undead army and the vampires who retreated to the undead island. Chapter 1029, Preparing for the battle against Noah. With just 12 hours remaining until the battle between Michael and Noah, tension hung in the air. The urgent note Michael received stated that he had 2 days to fight Noah, or his captured subordinates would meet their demise. Among his subordinates, Adelia Wraith, Maxine, Tiberius, Titus, Optimus, and Trista were held captive by the Sky Hall. As for the remaining subordinates, Raylene, Sadie, Gibson, Corey, the Silent Reaper crew, and Lenora, they were currently away from the undead island and unable to join the impending battle. Michael was left with only a handful of trusted allies: Gaia, his wife, Arya, the Queen of Shadows, Ricky, and Saber, the King of the Nightwalkers. Additionally, Delar stood among them, loyal and ready to fight. The undead island stood as an isolated sanctuary amidst the vast ocean, bridging the southern continent and our continent. As night fell, darkness engulfed the island, shrouding it in an eerie atmosphere. Thick lush forests and towering trees dominated the landscape, concealing the secrets within. At the heart of the island stood the crypt, a magnificent golden pyramid constructed by the ancient Order of the Death 3 millennia ago. Hidden among the trees, it remained a well-guarded secret. But it was not just the crypt that lay hidden within the forest. Countless undead creatures roamed the outskirts, their decaying forms blending seamlessly with the surroundings. Above the forest floor, concealed among the trees, thousands of vampires silently waited, ready to lend their support when the time came. Inside the crypt, Michael stood at the very center, Gaia faithfully by his side, while he surveyed the faces of Arya, Ricky, Saber, and Dalar. Positioned behind them were the Alpha Undead, possessing the remarkable ability to control the vast army of undead soldiers strategically. Visually, these Alpha Undeads appeared indistinguishable from the rest of the zombie-like creatures that roamed outside the crypt. Michael deliberately disguised them as ordinary undead, a clever ploy to prevent any suspicion or targeted attacks from their adversaries. By seamlessly blending in with the countless undead, these alpha beings became virtually undetectable amidst the chaos of battle. The tension was palpable on everyone's faces, except for the stoic and emotionless alpha undead. As Michael stood at the center of the crypt, the top of the crypt opened, revealing Eve as she descended, bearing important news. Just as Empress Nithrol predicted, Ghost, the Sky Hall has chosen the river town as the battleground, Eve informed. She approached Michael, leaning closer to whisper into his ear. Our spy has revealed that Noah and the Sky Hall Angels had a disagreement. The Angels wanted to use the townspeople as leverage to force your surrender, but Noah went against it and evacuated the town with the help of his allies in the Beast Kingdom, Eve whispered. Fucking assholes, Gaia cursed the Sky Hall for their attempt to exploit innocent lives in their battle against Michael. Lady Eve, do you have any information about the size of the Sky Hall and Noah's armies? Saber inquired. They have 8,000 soldiers in total, including 2,000 beast men and 3,000 Sky Hall angels. However, I suspect the Sky Hall may have more soldiers and hidden strategies up their sleeves, Eve disclosed. Gaia's brows furrowed at the news, her role as a general coming to the forefront. Not only was she Michael's wife, but also a skilled commander with the ability to lead a formidable army. In contrast, Michael, the Dark Lord himself, had been trained as an assassin, lacking the experience in commanding such vast forces. Thanks to what you did, they won't have demons, Gaia stated, scanning the crypt as if searching for someone. Speaking of demons, where is Azazel? Gaia asked, curious about Azazel's whereabouts. Doing something important with Eladir, Michael replied. Hearing the number of soldiers that Noah and the Sky Hall had unsettled Michael's subordinates. With 6,000 soldiers in their dark army, including undead and vampires, they wanted to ensure they had the advantage in numbers despite the strength of their undead and vampire forces. This is it, everyone. Our grand battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I'm not one for big speeches, but I'll tell you this, we will win this war. The Sky Hall believes Noah can defeat me, and he's their only hope. So when Noah falls, the Sky Hall will crumble like a house of cards. Michael's voice echoed through the crypt. Gaia stepped forward, her presence commanding attention. As she looked at each of her comrades, her eyes filled with unwavering determination. My fellow warriors, we stand on the eve of an epic battle against the Sky Hall and Noah. I know the odds may seem stacked against us, but remember who we are. We are the forces of darkness, united under the leadership of the Dark Lord. We have faced countless challenges, overcome insurmountable odds, and emerged victorious time and time again. Today will be no different. Gaia's voice rang out with strength and conviction. She continued, do not be swayed by their numbers or their deceitful tactics. We possess something they will never understand, true unity, loyalty, and a bond forged through blood, sweat, and sacrifice. We have faced adversity together, and together we will triumph. Gaia's words resonated deeply within the hearts of Michael's subordinates, reigniting the fire that burned within them. Their spirits were lifted, and a newfound determination sparked in their eyes. Michael, too, felt the impact of Gaia's powerful speech. It stirred a renewed sense of purpose within him, reminding him of his true potential and the plans he had carefully devised to outsmart the Sky Hall. Unbeknownst to their enemies, Michael had devised secret strategies that would catch the Sky Hall off guard. They had expected a straightforward battle, but Michael had something else in mind. He knew that their overconfidence would be their downfall. As the morale-boosting speech concluded, the atmosphere within the crypt crackled with a newfound determination. Michael's subordinates stood tall, ready to face their enemies head-on. They were united, prepared to unleash their full power and fulfill their duty to protect their leader, their Dark Lord. I think you should take a look at, prepare our forces and await my signal. When you receive it, use the teleportation portal located here and gather at River Town, Michael instructed his subordinates. As he spoke, he led Eve and Gaia outside, emerging through the top of the crypt. Once outside, they ascended to a mountaintop on the undead island, granting them a vantage point overlooking the entire island and the vast expanse of the ocean that surrounded it. The moon's gentle glow cast shimmering reflections upon the ocean's surface, while a gentle breeze brushed against Michael atop the mountaintop. "So, it's finally happening," Eve remarked, standing alongside Michael and Gaia. "Eve, it is of utmost importance that we protect Dalar at all costs. Your duty is to ensure his safety and escort him out if the situation becomes dire," Michael stated with a seriousness that caught Eve and Gaia off guard. "We're going to win this. Nothing will go south," Gaia affirmed with determination. "I know. But we still need to have backups. Since our army consists mostly of vampires and undeads, Noah won't hesitate to take their lives. Plus he has Norvin." "I will take care of Norvin and Noah," Michael declared. Eve sighed, expressing her wish for Empress Nithrol to join their forces. "No, it is crucial that she remains unaligned with me," Michael shook his head. "I put Vidora in charge of planning a rescue operation for our captured subordinates. It will be a difficult mission, but it's up to them now," Michael stated, his gaze shifting to Eve. "Ensure that your sister Jasmine stays far away from the battlefield. She is in love with Noah, and you cannot risk her getting close to him in the battlefield," Michael cautioned Eve. Unbeknownst to Michael and Eve, Jasmine Voldegard was actually a clone engineered by the Skyhall Elders, along with Yasmin Winston. They were part of the Skyhall's elaborate plan to manipulate Noah, the god of light. It would be best to eliminate Noah as soon as possible. The Skyhall's entire army relies on him. Once Noah falls, the rest will crumble, Gaia suggested. However, they both understood that killing Noah would not be an easy task. Michael possessed 2 god-killing arrows, while Noah had managed to acquire 5 with the assistance of Lord Information. Both brothers needed to possess all 7 arrows and use them to eliminate the other. Michael had taken all necessary precautions, tying up any loose ends and making thorough preparations for the battle against his twin brother, Noah. "What about Evan?" Eve inquired, concerned about the threat Evan posed since becoming a god and aligning with Salisi. "Salisi won't send Evan into battle prematurely. He will only intervene if Noah appears to be losing," Michael replied before Gaia interjected. "But he will lose, right?" Gaia questioned with a furrowed brow. "Yes," Michael quickly affirmed before continuing. "However, Evan won't pose a significant threat, as he is aware that I can eliminate Victoria with a snap. What we need to be wary of are Salsis' other hidden cards. I suspect she is amassing a soul army, an entity about which we know very little, if it indeed exists," Michael explained, his voice laced with caution. "I don't like this. There are too many unknown variables at play," Gaia expressed with a sigh, her unease evident in her voice. "They can have all the intricate plans and trump cards they want, Gaia. But I have a simple plan: kill Noah," Michael responded with a sinister smirk, his eyes gleaming with a chilling determination. With his words hanging in the air, Michael spread his majestic wings, their metallic sheen catching the moonlight. With a swift motion, he scooped up Eve and took to the skies, soaring above the world below. The wind rushed past them as they ascended higher, aiming for their destination, the river town where Noah was waiting for him. Chapter 1030. Noah and Michael meets. As Michael soared beyond the void line, he activated the runic teleportation, transporting himself and Eve to the outskirts of the river town. The town lay under the vast expanse of the night sky, illuminated by the gentle glow of the moon and the stars that adorned the sky. The enchanting river flowed alongside the town, its crystal-clear waters reflecting the shimmering moonlight as it traced a winding path through the heart of the landscape. The tranquil murmur of the river echoed softly, adding a serene melody to the ambience. In the near distance, majestic mountain chains rose proudly, their lush peaks reaching toward the heavens. Among these natural wonders, the remnants of the Sunrise sect's abandoned buildings stood as silent witnesses to what Skyhall did to all the sections. The river town itself was encased in a glistening pale blue dome, shielding it from the outside world. The ethereal barrier enveloped the entire town, casting an otherworldly glow upon the streets and buildings within. It stood as a testament to the powerful enchantments woven by the Skyhall, trying to control the damage that would fall upon the outside world when 2 gods fight. As Michael appeared out of the protective dome, his gaze was drawn to the expansive hillside that stretched beyond the town buildings, once used by the river town people for farming. It was upon these fertile lands that Noah and the formidable Skyhall army now stood, patiently awaiting Michael's arrival. The sight of Michael's presence in the sky immediately caught the attention of the opposing forces. Noah's eyes locked onto his twin brother, the Dark Lord, as he hovered above, accompanied by his wife Gaia and their loyal ally Voldigard. A tense silence settled over the battlefield, the air pregnant with anticipation. Standing strong behind Noah, an army of 8,000 soldiers stood at attention, their resolve evident in their unwavering stance. Among them, Norvin, transformed into his true form, a towering gorilla with lustrous golden fur, commanded their attention with his booming voice. "Activate the lights." Norvin's command reverberated through the air, resounding across the expanse of River Town like a resolute thunderclap. As Norvin's commanding voice echoed, the darkness within the energy dome was swiftly extinguished by the radiant glow of strategically placed orbs. These luminous spheres, carefully positioned throughout the town, emitted a brilliant light that served to weaken Michael, the god of darkness, while bolstering Noah, the god of light. Standing resolutely beside Noah was Maisie, a determined young girl who had once sought to claim Nightmare when he was but a mere baby. Her fists clenched in anger, she stood as a staunch ally of Noah. Among Noah's formidable army stood the Bellaforts, Alicia's family, united in their quest for vengeance to avenge their fallen heirs, Alicia and Peter. Their determined gazes were fixed upon Michael, the Dark Lord, as they prepared to face him head-on. Accompanying them were the proud Skyhall Angels, adorned in shimmering silver and sky-blue armor, their feathery wings gracefully adorning their backs. Adding strength to Noah's forces were the Beastmen, an assortment of humanoid beings with the characteristics of tigers, lions, wolves, and eagles. These majestic creatures exuded a fearless presence, standing tall without a trace of trepidation. However, their eyes scanned the battlefield in search of the Dark Lord's army, only to find that Michael had arrived in River Town with only his wife, the Dark Queen Gaia, and his loyal friend Voldigard. Among the various races inhabiting this world, only the dwarves and the beastmen had chosen to ally themselves with Noah in his battle against Michael. The dwarves, known for their resilience and craftsmanship, stood side by side with Noah's forces, lending their strength and expertise. Meanwhile, the beastmen, remarkable beings possessing both human and animal traits, also joined Noah's cause, their fierce and untamed nature adding a formidable edge to the alliance. On the other hand, the elves, under the wise command of Nithrol, had opted to remain neutral, abstaining from taking sides in the conflict between Noah and Michael. Surprisingly, the majority of the orcs, often perceived as ferocious and warlike due to their intimidating appearance, were actually a peaceful race. They found solace in scholarly pursuits, their intellectual pursuits far outweighing any inclination towards combat. It was their love for knowledge and tranquility that kept them away from the war against the Dark Lord, as they preferred a life of peaceful contemplation over engaging in violent conflicts. As the battle drew near, Noah's army swiftly organized themselves into formations, each group positioning themselves strategically across the river town. From a bird's-eye view, the scene resembled an intricate mosaic of soldiers, with the different races and factions standing in distinct patterns. The Skyhall Angels, resplendent in their silver and sky-blue armor, formed a tight-knit formation near Noah, their wings spread wide, ready to take flight at a moment's notice. The Beastmen, with their bestial features, assumed a ferocious formation, their ranks resembling a pack of predatory creatures preparing to strike. The dwarves, renowned for their craftsmanship and resilience, assembled in a compact yet sturdy formation, their stout figures forming a resilient bulwark in the midst of the army. Amidst the organized chaos, murmurs and whispers filled the air among Noah's forces. Some wondered aloud where the Dark Lord's army was, expressing eagerness to put an end to his reign once and for all. Their anticipation was palpable as they eagerly awaited the clash that would decide the fate of their world. "I hope the Dark Lord's army shows up soon. I've been waiting to take him down for ages," one soldier exclaimed with a determined glint in his eyes. "Patience, my friend. The Dark Lord will soon face the wrath of our united forces," another soldier reassured, his voice filled with confidence. Meanwhile, the dwarves, known for their practicality and occasional humor, chimed in with their own distinctive remarks. "Hey lads, make sure you lot protect us and our magnificent weapons. We're the heart of this battle after all." A dwarf bellowed with a hearty laugh, earning chuckles and nods from his fellow dwarves. "Why lads, remember we've got the finest weapons in all the realms," exclaimed one dwarf with a thick accent. "Aye, that's true. They should be protecting us, not the other way around." Another dwarf chimed in, his voice filled with jest. Laughter erupted among the dwarves, their camaraderie shining through even in the face of battle. With their distinctive beards and sturdy frames, they exuded a sense of indomitable spirit. "Don't worry. We'll shield you with our lives and make sure those weapons of yours shine brighter than the sun." Another soldier responded, playfully flexing his muscles. "I haven't seen so many people wanting to die at once," remarked the Dark Queen Gaia, her voice resonating across the battlefield, laced with a hint of scorn. "I think you should take a look at, don't be too quick to judge us." "We'll see who do the dying," retorted one of the angels defiantly, their wings fluttering with a mix of confidence and determination. "Hey Ghost, you shouldn't have tamed that dragon. Look what happened, now it's dead," taunted Maisie, a mischievous glint in her eyes as she attempted to provoke Michael. "Shouldn't you be at school or something, little girl?" Eve questioned with a seriousness that contrasted with Maisie's playful demeanor. Her remark elicited chuckles from some of the dwarves, who found the situation amusing. "Don't you lot laugh. She's poking fun at one of our own," growled a fellow soldier, his voice filled with a touch of irritation. "But it's still rather amusing," the dwarves chuckled, finding humor in the banter exchange between Eve and Maisie. Contrary to previous conflicts involving the Dark Lord, the Sky Hall had prohibited news reporters and any other individuals from entering Kingdom Bradford to witness the battle between Michael and Noah. As a result, the sky above the river town remained devoid of any onlookers. Amidst the tension-filled atmosphere, Michael finally broke the silence, his voice laced with amusement. "I must say, I had higher expectations of the dwarves' intelligence. Yet here you are, foolishly attempting to fight against me. Doesn't seem too intelligent, does it?" With a chilling tone, Michael directed his question at the dwarves, his words dripping with a menacing threat. "Have you ever stopped to consider what I can and will do to your entire race once I emerge victorious in this war?" As the weight of Michael's words settled upon them, the dwarves couldn't help but notice a gradual transformation in the night sky. The once twinkling stars and radiant moon now became shrouded in a veil of dark and foreboding clouds. The celestial beauty was marred by an eerie darkness that sent shivers down their spines. The dwarves felt an unease settling within them after hearing the Dark Lord's question. Their voices rose in response, shouting defiantly, "We fight for revenge against the damn elves. The Sky Hall promised us that." To their surprise, Michael's response was filled with laughter, his amusement reverberating across the battlefield. "You stupid fools," he taunted, his tone dripping with contempt. "Didn't you know that Empress Nithrol has ascended to become a goddess? The Sky Hall holds no power over her. If anything, she will unleash her wrath upon the race that harbors such deep hatred against her own people. The Sky Hall has deceived you all," said Michael before pausing. "The dwarven race will face further decline in power, whether you win or lose this war," Michael declared, his voice filled with an air of superiority. The dwarves, known for their craftsmanship and engineering skills, felt a twinge of unease at his words. They were a hot-blooded people, driven by their passions, but lacked the finesse and political acumen of the elves. The Dark Lord continued, exposing the deceit of the Sky Hall and revealing the true power dynamics at play. "Meanwhile, Empress Nithrol and the elves will remain in power. She is a master strategist, capable of outmaneuvering anyone in the realm. When your dwarven race weakens, she can wipe you out whenever she wants." As Michael laid bare their predicament, doubts began to seep into the minds of the dwarves. They started to question their fervent involvement in the war, realizing the manipulations and risks that lay ahead. The allure of revenge against the elves began to waver in the face of the Dark Lord's revelation. "Did you hear what the Dark Lord said? It makes sense," one dwarf whispered to another. "No matter if we win or lose, our race will suffer. Is revenge worth sacrificing our future? I mean, think about it." "The Dark Lord makes a valid point," the other dwarf responded, scratching his beard thoughtfully. "If the Empress and the elves stay in power, what's our fate? We'll be left vulnerable." "Yeah, I mean, I'm all for revenge and all, but being wiped out by the Empress doesn't sound too appealing," another dwarf chimed in, scratching his head. "Maybe the Sky Hall did lie to us," another dwarf pondered. "We shouldn't have blindly followed their promises without questioning their motives." The questioning dwarves exchanged serious glances, contemplating the weight of their decision. However, their contemplation didn't go unnoticed by their leaders, who quickly intervened. "Enough with the doubt. We made our choice and we must stand by it," one of the leader dwarves bellowed, attempting to silence the dissenting voices. Upon witnessing the dwarves' wavering resolve, Norvin raised his voice to counter Michael's words. "Don't let him mess with your minds. Stay strong." Norvin's voice boomed across the battlefield, attempting to reignite the dwarves' determination. Meanwhile, Noah locked his gaze with Michael, his twin brother. A mix of conflicting emotions surged within him. On one hand, he had recently discovered that the Dark Lord was none other than his own flesh and blood. On the other hand, the Dark Lord, his twin brother, had taken the life of his beloved wife, Alicia. Noah's expression remained stoic as he grappled with the weight of these emotions. The battlefield stood as a backdrop to their personal vendetta, an intricate clash of kinship and vengeance. Chapter 1031. Michael vs. Noah. Battle begins. We should attack him. Norvin turned to Noah, suggesting that they should launch an attack on the Dark Lord. However, Noah shook his head, opting to wait for the Dark Lord's army to reveal itself. As anticipated, Noah sensed a disturbance in the space around him. Moments later, black vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground outside the energy dome. From these teleportation vortexes, hordes of undead creatures emerged, their haunting moans filling the air. The sight of the undead sent a shiver down the spines of the dwarves and the beastmen in the army, evoking both disgust and fear. Norvin and Noah were taken aback by the sight of flying undead. While they were accustomed to using flying swords as a means of aerial mobility, witnessing the undead take to the skies was a chilling revelation. These flying undead were another successful creation of Dalar, the mastermind behind Michael's undead army. The previous war in Nagaland had seen Michael employ bloaters, a different type of undead that exploded amidst enemy ranks, causing widespread destruction. In the face of the emerging undead army, the dwarves and the beastmen exchanged anxious glances. They engaged in a conversation, their voices laced with both concern and disbelief. What in the name of the mountain is that? Flying undead? This can't be happening. One dwarf exclaimed, his voice trembling with fear. They're defying the natural laws. How can undead creatures fly? Another dwarf muttered, his voice laced with disbelief. Meanwhile, the beastmen growled with a mixture of aggression and fear. Those creatures. They are an abomination. We've never seen anything like this before, a beastman snarled, his claws digging into the ground. I've seen my fair share of battles, but this is something else. How are we supposed to fight against flying undead? Noah, what kind of undead are these? Norvin turned to Noah, seeking answers, but Noah remained silent, his eyes fixed on the approaching horde. These undeads. They're an unexpected threat. We need to be prepared. Noah finally spoke, his voice filled with determination. As the undead army continued to pour out of the vortexes, a putrid stench filled the air, carrying the unmistakable odor of decaying flesh and death. The atmosphere became heavy with the foul scent, causing some of the soldiers to gag and cover their noses. The shuffling footsteps of the undead resonated throughout the battlefield, accompanied by the eerie moans and groans that escaped their rotting mouths. It was a haunting chorus that echoed in the hearts of those who stood witness to the macabre sight. The sounds of bones cracking and joints creaking reverberated through the air as the undead moved with an unnatural agility. Some emitted ghastly wails, while others emitted guttural growls, creating a dissonant symphony of terror that sent chills down the spines of all who heard it. Do not be too shocked now. We have more surprises in store for you, Gaia taunted the opposing army with a smirk. With a resounding clap of her hands, the sound echoed through the river town like thunder, capturing everyone's attention. As if summoned by her command, additional vortexes materialized in the air and on the ground. From these swirling portals emerged vampires, draped in sleek black armor and robes. The airborne vampires gracefully hovered behind Michael, forming the silhouette of enormous, ominous wings. Meanwhile, the dark clouds above Michael grew thicker and more menacing, giving rise to an intense lightning storm. The gathering storm reflected his power as the god of darkness, a stark contrast to the radiant light emanating from the energy dome. As the lightning bolts crackled across the sky, Eve flicked her wrist, conjuring her warhammer. The weapon pulsed with electric energy, drawing power from the storm above. It crackled with raw power, a manifestation of the unleashed forces of nature. In a captivating display, an ethereal form of a black king cobra materialized behind Gaia, revealing her true nature as a naga. As lightning streaks illuminated the sky, the cobra's looming shadow cast a terrifying presence. However, what truly astonished and unnerved the opposing army was the formation of the clouds. They gathered together, coalescing into a colossal skull, serving as the ominous symbol of the Dark Lord. The combined display of power and elemental forces left the enemy forces awestruck, their confidence waning in the face of such formidable might. The dwarves, beastmen, and skyhall angels observed the spectacle before them, their expressions filled with a mix of awe, fear, and curiosity. They couldn't help but comment on the Dark Army's impressive display. "By the hammers of our ancestors, have you ever seen anything like this?" one of the dwarves whispered to his companion, his eyes wide with amazement. "Nay, never in all my years," replied the other dwarf, his voice tinged with both excitement and trepidation. "These undead and vampires, they're a force to be reckoned with." The beastmen, renowned for their primal instincts, exchanged puzzled glances and murmured amongst themselves. "Those flying undead. I've never witnessed anything so eerie," remarked a beastman with a lion-like face. "They move like shadows in the night." "I think you should take a look at Mong the Skyhall Angels," whispers of disbelief and concern spread. "Such darkness and lightning. It's almost unnatural," remarked one angel, his voice barely audible above the storm. Inside Michael's mind, the constant notifications of his badass points became overwhelming. He quickly muted the sounds, realizing the need to focus solely on the battle at hand. Both Noah and Norvin were taken aback by the staggering number of vampires and undead standing before them. Despite their numerical superiority, they recognized that the combined power of the vampires and undead posed a formidable challenge to their own forces. They were well aware that the Dark Lord had more tricks up his sleeve, yet he chose to keep them hidden for the time being. "What are we waiting for?" Impatiently, Noah's voice echoed through the battlefield, demanding action. His eyes ignited with radiant flames of light, and beams of light shot forth from his gaze. Two swords materialized in his hands, engulfed in the majestic coils of the light flames. Adorned in specially crafted armor forged by the skilled dwarves, Noah truly looked the part of the god of light. As he ascended into the sky, angelic wings made of pure light sprouted from his back, radiating a divine aura. Michael, not one to be outdone, also underwent a transformation of his own. Dark flames erupted from his eyes, and his metallic wings, which were part of his dark armor, became enveloped in swirling dark flames. In each of his hands, dark swords materialized, their blades enshrouded in the coiling embrace of black flames. The air crackled with the intensity of their powers, a stark contrast of light and darkness preparing to clash. "Let us settle this once and for all," declared Michael, his voice resolute and filled with determination. "Attack!" Norvin's roar resounded through the battlefield, igniting a surge of energy as the two armies charged at each other, leaving chaos in their wake. Michael and Noah, locked in their intense aerial duel, swung their swords simultaneously, their weapons clashing in midair. The clash of dark and light unleashed a colossal shockwave that reverberated through the very ground, causing the sky to crack as the two gods clashed. "So, light flames. Who handed them over to you, Noah?" Michael questioned, their swords grinding against each other in a fierce deadlock. "When you do good, people lend their support. It's something you fail to understand, Ghost," Noah retorted. Within the thin layer of the energy dome, Noah remained suspended mid-air, bathed in luminous radiance, while Michael hovered on the opposite side where darkness held sway. "It's easy to talk when everything is handed to you on a silver platter," Michael snickered, abruptly headbutting Noah and sending him hurtling backward. Noah adjusted his neck with a crack and swiftly dashed towards Michael, his movements infused with lightning speed. As he closed in on his adversary, Noah unleashed a beam of light from his swords. Reacting instinctively, Michael raised his arm, summoning a retractable black shield from his wrist. The shield absorbed the searing light beams, its color shifting to a fiery orange due to the intense heat. Michael's hand tingled from the impact, but undeterred, Noah propelled himself forward with lightning speed, aiming a powerful kick at Michael. In response, Michael reciprocated the attack, their legs colliding in midair. With a resounding clash, they struck each other's heads with their legs, their fierce cries filling the air as their determination and power collided in an epic showdown. Spitting the blood in his mouth, Michael surged forward, propelling himself through the air with unstoppable determination. Once again he and Noah clashed in a breathtaking aerial confrontation, their swords locked in a furious battle of light and darkness. Noah's pair of swords, engulfed in radiant light flames, danced through the air with grace and precision. He unleashed a series of swift, calculated strikes, weaving his blades with remarkable agility and finesse. Each swing of his swords emitted dazzling arcs of light, illuminating the battlefield as he sought to exploit any opening in Michael's defenses. In response, Michael wielded his two dark swords, wreathed in swirling dark flames that exuded an aura of malevolence. With calculated brutality, he matched Noah's every move with unwavering focus and unwieldy strength. His strikes carried an undeniable weight, channeling the darkness within him into each devastating blow. Their clash created a spectacle of opposing forces, a symphony of light and dark intertwining in a dance of raw power. Michael's dark blades clashed against Noah's radiant swords, sparks flying as their immense strength met with equal intensity. The clash of their swords reverberated through the air, echoing their unyielding determination to emerge victorious. Noah's swift and agile footwork allowed him to evade Michael's relentless assault, his nimble movements showcasing his mastery of the light. He skillfully parried and countered Michael's strikes, utilizing his speed and precision to exploit any opening he could find. With each counterattack he unleashed bursts of searing light, forcing Michael to adjust his defensive stance continuously. In turn, Michael utilized his inherent darkness to launch powerful and unpredictable attacks. He combined brute force with deceptive speed, delivering bone-crushing blows that tested Noah's resilience. The dark flames that enveloped Michael's swords enhanced their destructive potential, leaving trails of shadowy residue in their wake. Noah's voice trembled with anger as he shouted at Michael, his words filled with anguish and resentment. "I wish our mother had never given birth to you. Because of you I lost everything." The pain in his voice was palpable as he confronted the Dark Lord. Michael's response cut through the air like a sharp blade, his words carrying the weight of his own painful past. "And how does it feel to have nothing? You had everything while I had nothing." His voice thundered, resonating with a mix of anger and sorrow. In a moment of strategic agility, Michael swiftly discarded his dark sword and delivered a powerful punch straight to Noah's jaw. Caught off guard, Noah was unable to defend himself, and the force of the blow sent him hurtling towards the ground, causing a cascade of destruction as he crashed into several buildings. The impact reverberated through the air, leaving a trail of shattered debris in its wake. The sheer force of Michael's punch showcased his formidable strength, catching Noah off balance and exposing his vulnerability. The clash between the two gods took an unexpected turn as Michael seized the opportunity to unleash a devastating blow, momentarily gaining the upper hand in their fierce confrontation. Chapter 1032, Michael vs. Noah. The battle continues as Noah crashed through the debris, the nearby undead army hurriedly rushed toward the fallen god. Meanwhile, Michael, unfazed by the chaos, flapped his metallic wings and soared toward Noah's location. However, just as he approached, a colossal fist materialized out of nowhere and struck Michael squarely in the face. It was none other than Norvin, propelling himself from the ground to deliver the unexpected blow in midair. Yet, Norvin had underestimated the immense power gap between him and Michael. While Norvin stood at the half-immortal stage of cultivation, Michael possessed the cultivation of a half-celestial, a vast difference in strength. Norvin's punch, despite generating a powerful shockwave that demolished nearby buildings, failed even to rattle Michael. The Dark Lord stood resolute in the sky, his unwavering presence emanating a terrifying aura. In a silent exchange, Michael met Norvin's gaze, their eyes locked in a moment of intense confrontation. With a mere glance, Michael unleashed two dark beams from his eyes, striking Norvin's shoulder with precision. Arg! Simultaneously, Gaia's mighty roar reverberated through the battlefield, signaling her entrance into the fray. Descending from above, Gaia underwent a transformation, assuming her true form as a 10-foot king cobra with sleek black scales. With lightning speed, her serpentine body coiled around Norvin, ensnaring him within her powerful grasp. In one swift motion, Gaia swung Norvin towards a nearby building, crashing him into its sturdy structure. The impact echoed through the surroundings, further escalating the chaos of the battle. On the opposing side, Eve Voldegard took charge at the forefront of the Dark Army. With a mighty leap, she soared into the air, her warhammer held high as crackling lightning bolts danced around her. Her attire, consisting of black armor and a billowing cape, fluttered in the wind, adding to her commanding presence. Bringing her hammer down forcefully, Eve struck the ground, unleashing a powerful shockwave that rippled through Noah's army. As the clash intensified, several Skyhall angels, adorned in their feathery wings and silver armor, closed in on Eve from various directions. Despite being surrounded by thousands of beastmen and soldiers from Noah's army, Eve displayed no trace of fear in her resolute gaze. With unwavering determination, she raised her hammer skyward, preparing for the impending confrontation. Suddenly, a violent vortex of pure lightning energy descended from above, engulfing Eve in its powerful embrace. Her eyes and body radiated with a crimson-red glow, fueled by the immense power coursing through her. Locked in her crimson gaze were 3 Skyhall angels hurtling towards her. The first angel, equipped with formidable armor, relied on its protective armor to face Eve, who surpassed him in cultivation. However, Eve's spellcasting abilities and sheer power proved overwhelming for the angel's armor. As the angel drew closer, Eve swiftly sidestepped, tossing her warhammer into the air while gripping the angel's feathery wings. In a brutal display, Eve tore away the feathery armor from the angel's body, eliciting agonized roars of pain. Without granting the soldier a moment's respite, she delivered a forceful punch to his face, sending him crashing to the ground. Seizing the opportune moment, Eve allowed her warhammer to descend upon the angel's head, pulverizing it into a gruesome mass of blood and bone. As Noah crashed into the building, a blinding explosion of light erupted from the impact point. The radiant burst propelled the surrounding undead into the air, reducing some of them to mere piles of ash. Emerging from the wreckage, Noah rose with determination, his gaze fixed on Michael. Seizing a large boulder nearby, he hurled it towards the Dark Lord who loomed in the sky. Michael swiftly reacted, unleashing dark beams from his eyes that sliced through the boulder, splitting it in two. However, Noah skillfully maneuvered himself through the resulting gap, catching his opponent off guard. With swift precision, Noah landed a powerful punch to Michael's face followed by a forceful kick to his gut. In retaliation, Michael seized Noah by the neck, his grip firm and unyielding. Descending with great speed, he plowed through the ground, causing debris and asphalt to shatter beneath their combined weight. Finally, reaching the end of the pathway, Michael forcefully hurled Noah into a distant building, the impact resonating with destructive force. It was at this moment that Michael realized he found himself amidst Noah's army, surrounded by his enemies. Despite being in the heart of the opposing forces, the Skyhall angels and beastmen halted their advance, refraining from drawing any closer to Michael. Fear was evident in their eyes, for they understood that Noah alone possessed the strength and chance to confront the Dark Lord. At that moment, Eve landed gracefully right behind Michael, standing shoulder to shoulder with her friend. A brief exchange of glances passed between them, a silent understanding of their shared purpose. "Destroy those light orbs," Michael commanded Eve, his voice carrying the weight of urgency. The intense bright lights emanating from the orbs needed to be extinguished. Although the light didn't pose a significant threat to Michael, he knew that eliminating it would ensure he stood at his absolute strongest. "Stop her." The Skyhall angels, witnessing Eve's actions, desperately cried out, commanding their forces to stop her. In a swift and calculated motion, Eve propelled herself towards the sky, her warhammer firmly grasped in her hand. The Skyhall angels, attempting to impede her progress, found themselves swiftly dealt with by Michael's dark beams. The sight was gruesome and unsettling as bodies were torn asunder, drenching the battlefield in pools of blood and filling the air with its pungent scent. Amidst the chaos, the battlefield erupted into a whirlwind of violence and bloodshed. The undead clashed mercilessly with Noah's army, tearing through the ranks of beastmen and soldiers alike. In retaliation, Noah's forces unleashed powerful spells upon the relentless undead horde. The clash of spells and the clash of steel created a cacophony of chaotic warfare, with neither side showing any sign of relenting. In a desperate attempt to turn the tide of battle, hundreds of Noah's soldiers raised their hands simultaneously, channeling their collective energy into a powerful spell. The air crackled with electricity as their combined magic swirled and intertwined, forming a swirling vortex of energy above them. "I think you should take a look at." The spell began to take shape, manifesting as a colossal beam of pure elemental force. It surged downward from the vortex, tearing through the battlefield with unstoppable force. The beam glowed with intense light, tinged with shades of blue and white, as it sliced through the ranks of the undead army. Wherever it touched, the undead disintegrated into dust, vanishing from existence. The ground beneath them trembled as the spell carved a path of destruction, obliterating everything in its wake. The soldiers watched in awe as their spell wrought havoc upon the undead forces. The sheer magnitude of their collective power filled them with hope, their shouts of triumph echoing through the chaos. But their celebration was abruptly cut short as the Dark Lord's army retaliated with a sinister countermove. From the depths of the undead ranks emerged a grotesque sight: bloated figures, their bodies swollen with foul gases. These abominations, known as bloaters, emitted a pungent stench that permeated the air, causing many of Noah's soldiers to gag and cover their noses. "No, not the bloaters," one soldier cried out, his voice laced with fear. But before he could finish his warning, the bloaters reached the spellcasters, their grotesque bodies pulsating with lethal intent. With a sickening explosion, the bloaters detonated, unleashing a wave of destruction that engulfed the spellcasters. The force of the explosion tore through the ranks of Noah's soldiers, leaving devastation and carnage in its wake. Noah rose from the rubble of the shattered building, his eyes burning with determination. He raised his hands towards Michael, his palms radiating with intense light. Concentrated beams of pure luminosity shot forth from his outstretched hands, blazing through the air with blinding speed. The beams of light sliced through anything in their path, disintegrating the undead soldiers unfortunate enough to be caught in their trajectory. Buildings crumbled into dust, and the ground beneath them cracked and shattered, unable to withstand the sheer force of Noah's unleashed power. The light beams illuminated the battlefield, casting an ethereal glow upon the chaos below. Not to be outdone, Michael responded by raising his own hand, his palm emanating a swirling darkness. Dark beams erupted from his fingertips, coiling like serpents as they raced towards Noah. The clash between the light beams and the dark beams created an explosive collision, unleashing a cataclysmic shockwave that reverberated through the air. The resulting explosion engulfed the surrounding area, decimating everything within its vicinity. The force of the impact sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield, shaking the ground and tossing debris into the air like confetti. The intense light and dark energies collided, creating a maelstrom of destruction that tore through the undead army and Noah's soldiers alike. The destructive power of the collision was awe-inspiring. Buildings crumbled, reduced to rubble in an instant. Trees were uprooted, their branches splintered and scattered across the battlefield. The shockwave blasted away soldiers, both undead and living, like rag dolls, flinging them through the air with merciless force. The explosion left behind a scene of desolation and ruin. Smoke and dust filled the air, obscuring the battlefield in a haze. The sound of crumbling structures and anguished cries echoed amidst the devastation. The once bustling landscape now lay in ruins, a testament to the unrelenting power of the clash between light and darkness. As they soared through the sky, Noah and Michael collided, engaging in a fierce battle without the aid of their swords. Their clenched fists clashed with thunderous impacts, each strike resonating through the air. "Tell me, Noah, how did you manage to reach the half-celestial stage? Let me guess, someone lent you a helping hand as always." Michael sneered at Noah, taunting him about his progress to the half-celestial stage. He mocked Noah, suggesting that someone had assisted him, as if Noah's accomplishments were not his own. "This would have been a one-sided massacre if it weren't for the constant plot armor you seem to acquire," Michael jeered, attempting to undermine Noah's abilities. Their bodies twisted and turned in the air as they exchanged blows, their movements fluid and precise. Noah's determination fueled his every strike, while Michael's dark aura enveloped him, lending an air of menacing power to his attacks. With each clash, the sound of fists meeting flesh echoed through the sky, their intense rivalry escalating to new heights. The air crackled with their energy, their movements leaving trails of energy in their wake. Despite their physical combat, their conflict ran deeper than mere punches and taunts. It was a battle of brothers, of contrasting powers and ideologies. Each blow carried the weight of their shared history and personal vendettas. Chapter 1033. Michael overpowers Noah. As the battle raged on, Michael's serpent mega fighting style proved to be an advantage, allowing him to gain the upper hand over Noah. His dark armor, with several runes, provided additional protection that surpassed even the sturdy dwarven-made armor worn by Noah. With a swift and devastating strike, Michael landed a powerful blow to Noah's jaw, stunning him. Seizing the opportunity, Michael firmly gripped Noah's face and forcefully drove his knee into Noah's already injured visage. The impact was jarring, causing Noah to stagger backward. Raising his hands, Michael conjured bolts of black lightning, crackling with raw power. The ominous energy surged from his fingertips, resembling twisted serpents as they streaked through the air with deadly accuracy. With a resounding impact, the bolt struck Noah, sending him hurtling downwards through the sky. When Noah descended, his body spiraling toward the ground, Michael unleashed his devastating meteor spell. Summoning the fiery might of the cosmos, he willed a blazing meteor to manifest, hurtling towards Noah with unstoppable force. The flaming celestial object blazed across the sky, leaving a trail of fiery residue in its wake as if the heavens themselves were igniting in anticipation. As the fiery meteor hurtled towards Noah, it left a scorching trail of orange hues across the darkened sky. Its sheer magnitude and radiance cast an eerie glow upon the battlefield below, capturing the attention of all who witnessed its descent. Soldiers locked in combat below paused, their expressions shifting from determination to awe as they looked up, their eyes widening in disbelief. The sight of the impending cataclysm was both mesmerizing and horrifying, as the fiery orb grew larger with each passing second, consuming the sky with its blazing brilliance. With an earth-shattering impact, the meteor crashed down upon Noah, engulfing him in a tempest of flames and debris. The force of the collision unleashed a shockwave that rippled through the air, sending tremors across the battlefield. The town below bore witness to the destructive power of the meteor, its impact decimating the structures in its path. Countless buildings crumbled and collapsed, reduced to nothing more than smoldering ruins. The intense heat melted metal and reduced stone to ash, leaving behind a scarred landscape of devastation. Noah's army, already engaged in a fierce battle with the undead forces, was caught off guard by the meteor's sudden arrival. The relentless onslaught of fire and destruction obliterated vast sections of the undead army, their bodies disintegrating under the overwhelming heat and force. The ground shook beneath their feet as the remnants of the meteor continued its destructive path, leaving a trail of desolation in its wake. Noah! Norvin's anguished cry echoed across the battlefield as he witnessed the catastrophic impact of the meteor on his comrade. Filled with desperation, he attempted to take to the skies, seeking to reach Noah's side. However, his path was abruptly halted by Gaia, who had assumed her fearsome Naga form. Leaving so soon? Gaia hissed, her serpentine tails coiling around Norvin, binding him tightly. Norvin struggled fiercely, desperately trying to break free from her grasp. But Gaia's strength was overwhelming, and her hold on him was unyielding. With a swift and forceful motion, Gaia propelled Norvin into the air, his body hurtling through the sky. In a seamless transition, Gaia transformed into her human form, her golden bow materializing in her hands. Without hesitation, she drew an arrow, her aim locked onto Norvin's vulnerable form. As the arrow found its mark, a devastating explosion engulfed Norvin, amplifying the impact of the attack. Despite the excruciating pain and the devastation surrounding him, Noah mustered the strength to rise from the wreckage caused by the meteor's impact. His eyes surveyed the destruction and loss of life, fueling a fit of deep-seated anger within him. Blood trickled down his wounds, staining his tattered armor, yet his resolve remained unyielding. With a firm grip and gritted teeth, Noah balled his hand into a tight fist, his anger coursing through his veins. Fueled by his newfound determination, he launched himself upward, soaring toward the darkened sky to confront his brother once more. In the mid-sky, the two brothers engaged in a fierce battle, their contrasting powers colliding with explosive force. Michael unleashed torrents of black lightning, crackling with malevolent energy, while dark beams erupted from his eyes, seeking to engulf Noah in darkness. With each strike, Michael displayed both his mastery of darkness and his raw physical strength. Noah, agile and determined, dodged and weaved through the onslaught, his movements guided by a mixture of instinct and years of combat experience. However, he couldn't evade every attack as Michael's power overwhelmed him at times. Devastating blows landed upon Noah, pushing him to the brink of exhaustion and testing his resilience. But Noah wasn't defenseless. As Michael aimed his most powerful strikes, Noah summoned a shield of pure light, emanating from within him. The shield formed a radiant barrier, shimmering with divine energy, protecting him from the Dark Lord's onslaught. It absorbed the impact of Michael's attacks, providing Noah with crucial moments to counter and regain his footing. Amidst the intense battle, Michael taunted Noah with biting words. "You've always had everything handed to you, Noah. The privileged life, the support of others. It must be nice," he sneered, his voice laced with bitter resentment. "Meanwhile, I've had to fight tooth and nail for every ounce of power I possess. But no matter how much you try to stand against me, you'll always be in my shadow." Noah gritted his teeth, his determination burning even brighter. Ignoring Michael's taunts, he focused on his own inner strength and the memories of loved ones lost. With a surge of resolve, Noah summoned his light-infused fists and retaliated with a barrage of powerful strikes, each carrying the weight of his love and desire to protect. I think you should take a look at as the battle escalated, Michael's attacks grew increasingly ferocious, each strike fueled by his deep-rooted anger and resentment. His black lightning crackled with a more ominous intensity, arcing through the air with deadly precision. Dark beams shot from his eyes like piercing daggers, seeking to devour Noah's light. Noah fought valiantly, but the sheer force of Michael's onslaught took its toll. With each bone-crushing blow, Noah coughed up blood, his body pushed to its limits. He could feel his ribs cracking under the relentless assault, pain radiating through his entire being. Yet he refused to yield, drawing strength from his unyielding determination. Through gritted teeth, Michael continued his taunts, his words dripping with scorn. "You think you're better than me, Noah? With your lavish life, your supporters? Let me tell you something. No one handed me anything. I was an orphan, fighting every second just to survive. I clawed my way up, surpassing every obstacle that stood in my path. I earned every ounce of power I possess." As Michael's words hung in the air, Noah's vision blurred, his body battered and bruised. But within him a fire burned brighter than ever. Ignoring the searing pain, Noah summoned his remaining strength and launched a counterattack, his light-infused fists radiating with a renewed determination. The clash between the brothers intensified, a dance of light and darkness. Noah dodged and weaved, evading some of Michael's attacks with sheer reflexes, while others struck true, sending him hurtling through the air, his body crashing into debris with bone-crushing impacts. As Michael's attacks reached their apex, he abruptly halted, seizing Noah by the neck with a cruel grip. The air grew heavy with tension as Michael's dark eyes bore into Noah's, an expression of triumphant malice etched upon his face. "Darkness always triumphs over light, Noah. Hardships always prevail over a lavish life," Michael sneered, his voice laced with a bitter satisfaction. With a sadistic grin, he unleashed a barrage of punches upon Noah's defenseless face, each blow resounding with bone-crunching impact. The force behind the strike sent Noah spiraling through the air, his body tossed like a rag doll. Noah's descent was swift and brutal, his body crashing into the ground with an earth-shattering thud. The impact was so intense that it created a sizable crater, the earth quivering beneath the force of his landing. Blood trickled from Noah's broken and battered form, mingling with the dirt and debris that surrounded him. Witnessing their leader being overpowered by the Dark Lord sent a chill racing through the ranks of Noah's army. The soldiers looked on in stunned disbelief, their resolve shaken by the sight of their champion being mercilessly beaten. A collective wave of unease swept through their ranks, their confidence waning as they struggled to comprehend the possibility of defeat. In contrast, the vampires of the Dark Lord's army reveled in their leader's dominance. Their cheers echoed through the battlefield, a chilling chorus of adulation for their malevolent master. Their eyes gleamed with fervor and anticipation, their loyalty unwavering as they relished in the impending triumph of darkness over light. As Norvin witnessed the brutal assault on Noah at the hands of the Dark Lord, a surge of primal rage coursed through his veins. His body underwent a remarkable transformation, growing in size and strength as he assumed his formidable ape form. With a thunderous roar that reverberated through the battlefield, he pounded his chest, a display of his indomitable spirit. Suddenly, a golden shield materialized around Norvin, shimmering with a protective aura. It deflected the barrage of arrows unleashed by Gaia, their deadly trajectory rendered futile against the impenetrable barrier. Norvin's defiant stance grew stronger as he stood undeterred, shielding himself from Gaia's relentless assault. Summoning his primal power, Norvin cast his gaze toward the sky, his eyes blazing with determination. An ethereal fist materialized, crackling with raw energy and divine might. With a resounding impact, he unleashed the devastating punch upon Gaia, an unstoppable force that connected with unrelenting power. The speed and strength of Norvin's punch were unparalleled, catching Gaia off guard. She was sent hurtling through the air, her body twisting and contorting in a violent arc. The impact resonated with an explosive shockwave, leaving a trail of shattered debris in its wake. But when Norvin soared towards Noah, ready to provide his much-needed aid, his path was suddenly intercepted by Eve, who unleashed her electrifying presence. With a mighty swing of her warhammer, lightning crackling and dancing around its formidable form, she struck Norvin square in the face. The impact reverberated through the air, unleashing shockwaves that rippled across the battlefield. Staggered by the forceful blow, Norvin struggled to maintain his balance. Before he could fully recover, Eve swiftly closed the distance between them, relentlessly pursuing him through the sky. In a calculated move, she hurled her hammer with pinpoint accuracy, aiming straight at Norvin's chest. The hammer collided with his torso, delivering a bone-crushing blow that further weakened his resolve. As the battle raged on, the tides began to shift in favor of the Dark Lord. The combined might of Michael, Gaia, and Eve proved to be a formidable force that threatened to overwhelm Noah's army. The dark powers at their disposal grew more potent with each passing moment, casting an ominous shadow over the battlefield. Noah's forces, once filled with determination and hope, now faced the grim reality of an impending defeat. The Dark Lord's influence permeated the air, sending chills down the spines of Noah's soldiers. Chapter 1034. Norvin's death. Michael hovered in the air, his gaze fixed upon Noah, waiting for the opportune moment when he would unleash the devastating power of the god-killing arrows. Deep within his system storage, Michael held 2 of these lethal weapons, while Noah possessed the remaining 5. The Dark Lord yearned for the day when he could claim all 7 arrows, an outcome that would seal Noah's fate once and for all. Yet, Noah refrained from reaching for the arrows. He recognized that he struggled to gain the upper hand in his relentless battle against Michael. The skies above were dominated by their fierce clash, while on the ground below, a grim spectacle unfolded. The once vibrant river town now resembled a desolate battlefield, scarred by the ravages of war. Broken buildings lay in ruins, their skeletal structures testament to the power of Michael's meteor spell that had crashed upon the earth. Lava oozed through the cracks, intertwining with smoldering rocks, casting an eerie glow upon the surroundings. The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke and the haunting stench of death. Amidst the chaos, the undead army clashed with Noah's valiant beastmen and angels. Limbs of the undead littered the scorched landscape, while the fallen bodies of brave soldiers bore witness to the brutality of the conflict. Blood stained the once pristine streets, painting a grim tableau of sacrifice and suffering. As the intensity of the battle escalated, a glimmer of hope emerged amidst the chaos. Norvin, with his towering ape-like form, began to turn the tide in his skirmish against Eve and Gaia. With each swing of his powerful limbs, Norvin unleashed a barrage of blows upon his adversaries. His sheer size and strength granted him an advantage, allowing him to withstand the onslaught of the 2 formidable opponents. The ground trembled beneath Norvin's weight as he matched their every move. Eve, with her lightning-infused hammer, clashed against Norvin's unyielding defense. Bolts of electricity crackled in the air, illuminating the fierce exchange. However, Norvin's resilience proved to be a formidable shield, deflecting the onslaught of attacks with a golden barrier that enveloped him, repelling the lightning strikes. Gaia, on the other hand, unleashed a flurry of arrows, aiming to pierce Norvin's defenses and weaken his resolve. But to her surprise, her projectiles met an impenetrable barrier, shimmering with a radiant golden glow. As Norvin's fist collided with Gaia, the clash drew Michael's attention. With a swift determination, he closed the distance between himself and Norvin, disregarding Noah's presence. Norvin, standing tall at 15 feet, taunted Michael, "Fight me head-on instead of sending your women to do a man's job." Ignoring the taunts, Michael landed before Norvin, summoning his bone-chilling warhammer, the Doomsbringer. The frigid aura radiating from the hammer caused the temperature to drop significantly. Michael declared with cold determination, "I should finish what Nightmare started," Michael said coldly, his voice carrying an air of determination. With synchronized movements, both Michael and Norvin leaped into the air, their bodies poised for battle. Norvin swung his massive ape-like fist towards Michael, meeting the cold, unyielding metal head of the Doomsbringer. Norvin's hand instantly went numb upon impact, but he didn't falter. In response, Michael's eyes ignited with dark flames, and he unleashed a barrage of dark beams from his gaze. A golden shield appeared around Norvin, attempting to defend against the relentless assault. However, the shield began to crack under the overwhelming power of the dark beams, and within moments, it shattered completely. Undeterred, Norvin mustered his strength and seized the warhammer as Michael attempted another strike. In a desperate effort, Norvin delivered a powerful headbutt towards Michael. But to his astonishment, the Dark Lord remained unyielding, displaying his formidable resilience. Michael retaliated with a forceful jump, headbutting Norvin with equal intensity, causing the ground to tremble beneath them. The impact sent Norvin hurtling through the ground, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. Noah lay unconscious, buried beneath the rubble of shattered buildings. Meanwhile, Michael remained completely focused on Norvin, his anger burning within him. The death of his pet dragon, Nightmare, had ignited a fiery rage within Michael. The news of Nightmare's demise had stirred the emotions of those around him. Gaia wreaked havoc upon her own kingdom, Vidora nearly destroyed the Dark Castle in a fit of anger, and Claire and others wept openly. But Michael, devoid of tears, channeled his anger into a fierce determination. It fueled his every move as he dashed towards Norvin. With intense purpose, Michael landed before Norvin, gripping him tightly by his fur before hurling him towards Noah's army, locked in battle against the relentless undead. Above them, one of the intense light orbs shattered, causing the brightness to diminish. Michael glanced upwards, recognizing that Eve had successfully disabled one of the light orbs hidden beneath the dome. As Norvin crashed into a building, reducing it to rubble, Gaia unleashed a relentless barrage of explosive arrows from the sky, further injuring him. Undeterred, Michael, wielding the Doomsbringer, swiftly closed the distance and planted himself firmly upon Norvin's chest. "Now look into my eyes and taunt me," Michael coldly demanded of Norvin. Rather than responding with words, Norvin emitted a thunderous roar, the sheer force of it causing Michael's hair to be blown back. Yet, Michael stood resolute upon Norvin's chest. "I think you should take a look at raising his Doomsbringer with intent to strike a final blow." Michael's actions were suddenly interrupted by the distant firing of a powerful cannonball. The resounding boom of the cannon drowned out even the fiercest thunderclap, as the fiery projectile soared through the air. The dwarves stood together, their eyes fixed on the unfolding battle between the Dark Lord and their comrades. Their hands trembled slightly as they prepared the powerful cannonball once again, their minds filled with a mix of determination and uncertainty. "Fire the cannon. Let's blast that Dark Lord to oblivion," one dwarf exclaimed, his voice filled with both hope and anxiety. Another dwarf, however, expressed doubts. "Are we making a terrible mistake? The Dark Lord is no ordinary foe. We may have just drawn his attention towards us." A third dwarf chimed in, "It's true. What can we possibly do against a being at the half-celestial stage? Our cannon is mighty, but it may not be enough to stop him." Yet, amidst their wavering thoughts, one dwarf raised his voice, his eyes fixed on Noah, still lying motionless amidst the chaos. "Noah, wake up. This is your chance to fight back against the Dark Lord. Rise and show him the strength of your resolve." The dwarves exchanged concerned glances, their hearts heavy with worry. They understood the immense challenge that lay before them, but they refused to give in to despair. To their utter disbelief, Michael effortlessly caught the fiery cannonball, reducing it to a mere pile of ash with a tight grip. The dwarves watched in stunned silence as their mighty weapon was rendered useless. The weight of their defeat settled upon their shoulders. Michael's gaze shifted upwards, locking onto Gaia, and with a chilling nonchalance he commanded, "Kill them all." His voice reverberated through the battlefield, sending shivers down the spines of the dwarves. They turned their gaze towards the distant sky, where lightning flashed behind the Dark Queen, revealing the ominous shadow of a colossal cobra, a testament to her true Naga form. Meanwhile, Norvin, with all his might, tried to dislodge Michael from his chest. However, his efforts were in vain as Michael remained steadfast and immovable. Norvin clenched his fists, summoning ethereal manifestations that pummeled Michael relentlessly from both sides. Yet, Michael showed no sign of yielding, his unwavering stance challenging Norvin's futile attempts. With the Doomsbringer raised high, Michael taunted Norvin, "I will bring Nightmare back from the depths of hell, but Noah won't be able to bring you back." Norvin's roars filled the air as his ethereal fists continued to assault Michael without effect. But Michael remained unperturbed. As the realization of his impending defeat dawned upon him, Norvin slowly turned his gaze towards the rubble where Noah lay buried. Tears welled in his eyes as he faced Michael once more, his voice filled with sorrow. "You were able to defeat Noah because deep down he still sees you as his brother," Norvin revealed. Gaia, relentless in her slaughter of the dwarves, prevented any futile resistance while Eve continued her destructive mission to dismantle the remaining light orbs. As a result, darkness encroached upon the battlefield, slowly consuming all in its path. "My death will break that bone and bring back the Noah who went around killing his enemies left and right," Norvin snickered, embracing his impending demise without a trace of fear. Michael parted his lips as if poised to utter something but then closed them again. In the next moment, a shocking and heart-wrenching event unfolded before their eyes. Without hesitation, Michael brought down the Doomsbringer upon Norvin's head, caving in his mighty ape skull. Blood and fragments of bone sprayed across the battlefield, painting a gruesome scene. Norvin's body convulsed while Michael stood amidst the carnage, drenched in Norvin's crimson lifeblood. The sight of Norvin's cruel demise struck Noah's army with a paralyzing shock, freezing them in disbelief and despair. As if the shocking events weren't enough, Michael activated his soul-eating skill, his eyes glowing with a sinister light. A wispy, white smoke began to emanate from Norvin's lifeless body, slowly snaking its way toward Michael's open mouth. This ethereal smoke carried Norvin's soul and life energy, a macabre feast for the Dark Lord. With each passing moment, Norvin's once mighty form began to shrink and wither, like a wilting flower drained of its essence. In a matter of mere moments, Norvin's body transformed into a desiccated mummy, a hollow shell devoid of life. The sight sent a chill through the hearts of Noah's army as they witnessed the terrifying display of Michael's power, his ability to consume the very essence of a fallen warrior. It was a chilling reminder of the depths of darkness that Michael was capable of descending into. "Now this is a feast befitting the Dark Lord," Michael's voice resonated, his once human tone now twisted and steeped in darkness. His words echoed through the battlefield, spreading an ominous aura that chilled the very air. The sinister quality of his voice alone was enough to send shivers down the spines of the remaining beastmen and dwarves. Gripped by a paralyzing fear, some dropped their weapons and fled from the scene in a state of sheer panic. Their desperate cries filled the air as they ran, their only thought to escape the encroaching darkness that surrounded them. Chapter 1035. Noah's ultimate form. Unconscious and buried beneath a pile of debris, Noah's body began to heal itself, unaware of the tragic fate that had befallen his beloved pet Norvin at the hands of the Dark Lord. Memories of happier times flooded Noah's mind, vivid flashes of moments spent with his wife Xianxia and cherished family memories. One memory in particular played over and over in his thoughts, an idyllic scene where Xianxia and Norvin sat on either side of Noah, their faces filled with joy as they watched the sunset in the serene azure continent. Xianxia's gentle embrace enveloped Noah, her head resting upon his shoulder, while the young Norvin, a baby golden babaru at the time, curled up on Noah's lap, peacefully asleep. These precious moments were etched in Noah's heart. However, the serenity of the memory abruptly shifted, turning dark and foreboding. Xianxia's tear-filled eyes stared up at Noah, blood streaming from them. In a cruel twist, Xianxia slowly faded away from his recollection, leaving Noah powerless to halt the mortifying transformation. Norvin, too, awoke from his slumber in the memory, only to vanish before Noah's eyes. Noah gazed up at the sky, witnessing the vibrant orange hues of the once painted light gradually darkening. His eyes traced the ominous formation of clouds taking shape, morphing into the distinct skull symbol associated with the Dark Lord. The reality of his situation tore through Noah's being, wrenching him from the pleasant memories he had cherished, transforming them into a haunting nightmare brought forth by the Dark Lord's malevolence. As Noah gradually regained consciousness, the tides of war shifted in favor of the Dark Lord, Michael. Without the presence of Noah and Norvin, the two strongest warriors, Noah's army found themselves on the losing end. Despite the valiant efforts of the Skyhall Angels, the relentless undead forces and their lethal allies, the bloaters, began to overwhelm and decimate their ranks. Meanwhile, Eve relentlessly continued her mission of destroying the light orbs. Each orb shattered under the weight of her mighty blows, plunging the battlefield into ever-deepening darkness. Gaia, in her Naga form, soared through the sky, emitting a poisonous green mist that tainted the air. With a fiery arrow in hand, she unleashed a devastating explosion that reduced buildings to ashes and reverberated with a deafening roar throughout the river town. The destruction caused by their combined efforts cast a grim shadow over the once vibrant river town. "Wake up, Noah," Noah heard his mentor Andreas' voice in his head. "The Dark Lord killed Norvin, Noah. You must wake up and avenge him." As Noah's consciousness began to stir, he heard the familiar voice of his mentor, Andreas, resonating in his mind, urging him to wake up and seek vengeance for Norvin's death at the hands of the Dark Lord. Meanwhile, Eve, determined to disrupt the Noah's plans, hurled her hammer towards what appeared to be an empty patch of ground. However, upon impact, the illusion surrounding the area shattered, revealing a group of dwarves and Skyhall Angels fervently guarding a pulsating energy orb. The orb emitted a radiant and intense light, serving as a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching darkness. In a state of panic and shock, the dwarves exclaimed, their voices filled with urgency and disbelief. "The illusions, they've been shattered. Protect the orb at all costs." In a display of unity, the half-immortal Skyhall Angels swiftly took flight, soaring through the sky with grace and purpose. Their ethereal forms glistened with celestial light as they positioned themselves between Eve and the pulsating energy of the orb. 3 Skyhall Angels, their power amplified by their half-immortal status, unleashed spells upon Eve. The first angel channeled their energy into a swirling vortex of ice shards that streaked through the air, aiming to freeze Eve's movements. The second angel summoned bolts of lightning that crackled and danced, electrifying the atmosphere and threatening to engulf Eve in a storm of electricity. The third angel, their voice resonating with divine authority, invoked a radiant beam of pure light, searing through the darkness and seeking to cleanse the malevolent forces that surrounded them. The spells collided with a dazzling spectacle, creating a symphony of elemental power that illuminated the sky. Each spell carried its own unique appearance and effect, showcasing the immense strength and determination of the Skyhall Angels. Despite Eve's formidable strength at the half-immortal stage level 3, facing 3 Skyhall Angels and their combined spells proved to be a formidable challenge. The spells surged through the sky, aiming directly at Eve. She swiftly swung her hammer in a circular motion, creating a protective shield that deflected the icy shards launched by the first angel. However, her quick reflexes weren't enough to evade the lightning bolts cast by the second angel, which struck her back. Ah! Eve cried out in pain, blood staining her lips as she coughed uncontrollably. Before the third angel's radiant beam could reach her, Gaia intervened, assuming her Naga form and coiling protectively around Eve. The beam collided with Gaia's sturdy scales, shielding Eve from its full impact. As the spells dissipated, Gaia released Eve from her embrace and transformed back into her human form. Her sudden appearance shifted the tide of the battle, instilling a newfound confidence. "Didn't your angel mama teach you that it's wrong to bully a girl?" Gaia taunted, her voice laced with amusement. "I think you should take a look at, she's just a bitch just like you, a whore and an abomination for marrying the Dark Lord," one of the angels retorted, attempting to provoke Gaia. Instead of becoming angered, Gaia laughed. To her, these angels were nothing but pitiful fools, destined for their imminent demise. "How embarrassing it must be for you 3 to meet your end at the hands of a so-called bitch and whore," Gaia sneered, reveling in her superiority. With a sudden burst of speed, she lunged at the 2 half-immortal angels, leaving one for Eve to face. Gaia's incredible swiftness caught the angels off guard. During Michael's absence in Itnes, Gaia had discovered and absorbed an energy deposit, fueling her powers to unprecedented heights. The surge of energy unleashed her hidden potential, enhancing her strength, speed, and raw power to extraordinary levels. As Gaia faced off against the 2 half-immortal Skyhall Angels, she tapped into her newly amplified powers. Poisonous energy surged through her veins, empowering her spells with a venomous touch. With a graceful flick of her hand, she unleashed a cloud of toxic mist, enveloping her opponents. The mist coiled around the angels, corroding their strength and sapping their vitality. Undeterred, the first angel retaliated with a spell of his own. He summoned ethereal chains, forged from divine light, which shot towards Gaia with blinding speed. But Gaia's agility allowed her to dodge and weave through the intricate network of chains, avoiding their restrictive grip. Meanwhile, the second angel unleashed a barrage of radiant arrows, each one imbued with holy energy. Gaia swiftly evaded the arrows, her nimble movements akin to a dance in the sky. She retaliated by drawing her golden bow and firing back with arrows infused with her own potent magic. Each arrow found its mark, causing explosive bursts of energy upon impact. The clash between Gaia and the Skyhall Angels shook the battlefield. Buildings crumbled beneath their powerful spells, reducing Noah's army and the undead horde to mere collateral damage in their fierce confrontation. The ground quaked as shockwaves rippled through the once serene town, leaving trails of destruction in their wake. Amidst this chaos, Eve engaged in her own aerial duel with the remaining Skyhall Angel. Bolts of lightning crackled from her hammer, surging through the sky with dazzling brilliance. She summoned storms of electricity, their raw power threatening to tear the heavens asunder. The angel countered with shields of divine energy, attempting to deflect the electrifying onslaught. Thunderous clashes echoed through the air as their spells collided, illuminating the darkened sky. The battle between Gaia, Eve, and the Skyhall Angels transcended mere physical combat. It became a clash of elemental forces, their powers intertwining and creating an awe-inspiring spectacle. Their ferocity and determination knew no bounds as they fought with all their might, unleashing devastation upon the once peaceful river town. In the midst of the chaos, the battlefield became a chaotic maelstrom of destruction. The combined forces of Noah's army and the undead horde were caught in the crossfire, their ranks scattered and decimated by the overwhelming power unleashed by the combatants. The ground was scarred with the remnants of their spells, and the air was heavy with the scent of burning debris and swirling energy. Amidst the raging battle, a sudden explosion shattered the debris above Noah with a resounding boom. A blinding light erupted from the very spot where Noah had been buried, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. The radiant glow that emanated from Noah's being enveloped the entire battlefield, casting an ethereal brilliance upon the chaos. Unbeknownst to Michael, who observed from the sky, the near-death experience and the profound loss of his loved ones had awakened a dormant power within Noah. The fury and anguish coursing through his veins fueled his transformation, granting him unimaginable strength and a newfound determination to confront the Dark Lord. Little did Michael know in that very moment, that the brink of death had unleashed a wellspring of power within Noah, as it did for all gods and beings above the mortal realm. The revelation that near-death experiences could grant unimaginable strength remained a secret to Michael, and Noah was about to prove that he was no exception to this extraordinary phenomenon. As Noah ascended, radiant and empowered, Michael braced himself for the ultimate clash between the two brothers, unaware of the true magnitude of Noah's newfound abilities. Noah slowly ascended from the ground, his entire form radiating with the intensity of the blinding light. Michael recognized the change unfolding before his eyes, realizing that Noah had tapped into his ultimate potential. Floating in the sky, Michael prepared himself to confront Noah in this newfound ultimate form. Ghost? Noah's voice reverberated through the battlefield, resonating with a force that surpassed mere sound. His powerful shout unleashed a shockwave, obliterating everything in its path. The once ruined buildings crumbled to dust, and both Noah's army and the undead were thrown into disarray by the sheer force of the shout. Even Gaia, Eve, and the Skyhall angels were forcefully brought down from the sky, crashing onto the ground below. Somewhere beyond the chaos of the battlefield, Neela, one of Noah's loyal and trusted friends, guided Olivia toward the epicenter of the battle. Olivia, an alchemist and Michael's former student, carried the weight of 2 god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah himself. Their arrival could potentially tip the scales in this cataclysmic conflict. Chapter 1036. Using the god-killing arrows, Noah emerged from the debris, his radiant form shining like a miniature sun. The darkness that Eve had cast upon the battlefield with the destruction of the light orbs was instantly dispelled by Noah's presence. He exuded an undeniable aura of the god of light, absorbing the arch and celestial energy that surrounded him. With this surge of power, the energy dome encasing Rivertown cracked and shattered, unable to contain Noah's divine might. Meanwhile, Michael activated the death range, causing the surrounding area to plunge into darkness. Storm clouds roiled above him, unleashing thunderous claps and torrential rain. The opposing forces of intense light and pitch-black darkness clashed, setting the stage for the ultimate battle between the god of light and the god of darkness. Noah's gaze fell upon the mummified remains of Norvin, lying lifeless on the ground below Michael. A profound anger welled up within Noah, resonating with a powerful hum that reverberated throughout the battlefield. The sound was so intense that it caused everyone, including Eve and Gaia, to cover their ears in agony. The impact was immense, knocking the beastmen, vampires, and all airborne fighters to the ground, their bodies trembling in response. The humming sound triggered a chaotic response from the undead. The alpha undead lost control over their minions, unleashing a bloodthirsty frenzy. The undead charged recklessly, attacking the Skyhall angels, beastmen, dwarves, and anyone unfortunate enough to be in their path. However, just as the undead were about to descend upon Noah's army, a shockwave emanated from Noah's body, altering the very fabric of gravity in the battlefield. Suddenly, the undead and other combatants were rendered weightless, suspended in midair, their movements suspended by this extraordinary force. That is a surprising power. Michael remained calm and composed, unfazed by the gravity-altering power unleashed by Noah. As a god himself, the fluctuating forces had no effect on him. Hovering in the sky, their eyes locked. The contrast between Noah's boiling anger and Michael's unwavering composure was stark. The radiance surrounding Noah concealed the turmoil brewing within him, leaving Michael unaware of the changes beneath the surface. With a taunting tone, Michael goaded Noah. "What are you waiting for, Noah?" However, before his words could dissipate, Noah vanished from his position, reappearing behind Michael in a blink. An instinctual jolt surged through Michael as he felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. Reacting swiftly, he activated his lightning dash, swiftly evading Noah's incoming punch by mere inches. Noah's fist struck the empty air, releasing a shockwave of incredible force that dispersed the storm clouds, revealing the resplendent moon and stars once more. Michael had little time to react as Noah immediately lunged at him once again. The clash between their powers created an extraordinary phenomenon in the sky, where light and darkness wrestled for dominance, casting an eerie gray hue over the battlefield. The opposing forces struggled to overpower each other, but their equilibrium remained unbroken. Amidst the clash, Noah's sole focus was on his consuming rage, his determination to kill his brother, the Dark Lord, unwavering. A fleeting foxy smile graced Michael's face before swiftly vanishing in the heat of battle. "I'm going to end your life." Noah's enraged scream echoed through the air as he relentlessly unleashed a barrage of punches. Some strikes found their mark on Michael's body, causing bones to crack under the force. However, thanks to the advanced healing properties of his APD-integrated armor, restorative potions coursed through Michael's bloodstream, mending his injuries in real time. A wicked smirk formed on Michael's lips as he taunted, "What happened to your no-kill rule?" With lightning-fast reflexes, he caught Noah's incoming fist mid-air, countering with a rapid series of punches to Noah's gut. Raising his hand, Michael unleashed a deadly combination of lightning and dark flames, propelling Noah through the air. Blood trickled from Noah's mouth as he was engulfed by the luminous aura surrounding him, yet he remained undeterred, dashing towards Michael once more. Noah charged with a thunderous roar, his mouth aglow with radiant light. As he bellowed, the light erupted from his gaping maw, materializing into a colossal ethereal dragon crafted from pure luminosity. The sight of the magnificent dragon stunned all onlookers, their attention drawn skyward. The beast's ferocious roar resounded through the battlefield as it soared towards Michael, jaws poised to snap shut. Undeterred by the imminent threat, Michael, the god of darkness, demonstrated his unwavering prowess. In the face of such battles, he pushed his limits, honing his skills to perfection. Seizing the moment, Michael activated Silenes, causing time to slow down within his vicinity. Swiftly ascending into the sky, he soared above the luminous dragon before diving with the Doomsbringer gripped tightly in his hand. With a resounding impact, the Doombringer collided forcefully with the dragon's head, unleashing a deafening clap of thunder that reverberated across the battlefield. The shockwave annihilated countless trees in a half-mile radius, leaving destruction in its wake. With the cracking of the dragon's head, Noah seized the opportunity and sprang into action. Summoning swords forged from pure light and radiant flames, he prepared to face Michael head-on. Sensing the impending danger, Michael swiftly hurled his Doomsbringer towards Noah, who deftly evaded the incoming attack. Simultaneously, Michael extended his hands towards the ground, causing the dark swords to tremble before launching them skyward. The clash between the two godly forces intensified as Noah unleashed lightning-fast sword strikes, pushing himself to the limits of his speed and agility. Undeterred, Michael tapped into the full potential of Silenes, slowing down time within his bubble of influence. Yet even in this slowed-down state, Noah's movements remained lightning-quick, making it a formidable challenge for Michael to evade his onslaught. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the flurry of sword slashes, Noah managed to land a cut on Michael's shoulder. Although the armor absorbed most of the blow, the searing light flames managed to breach the defenses, leaving a burning wound that elicited a grimace from Michael. Recognizing the need for a decisive move, Michael made a calculated risk. He intentionally allowed Noah's sword to slice across his chest, using the opportunity to grab hold of Noah's wrists. Locked in a fierce face-off, the two brothers exerted their godly strength against one another, their eyes locked in a battle of wills. Regret seeping through his voice, Noah gritted his teeth as he spoke to Michael. The realization of his mistake lingered in his words. "I made a mistake by letting you live. I regret that." With a snicker, Michael taunted Noah, reveling in his change of heart. "Attaboy, now you realize you shouldn't let your enemies live. I'm glad you are finally seeing things." Determined to make his point, Noah retorted, "You are not my enemy. You are a curse to the whole world." Unleashing his frustration, Noah launched a powerful headbutt towards Michael, who in turn cracked his neck and reciprocated with a headbutt of his own. As the two brothers clashed, each headbutt sent shockwaves rippling through the sky, cracking the ground beneath them. In the midst of their confrontation, Neela and Olivia soared through the sky, witnessing the cataclysmic battle between two godly beings. Olivia carried the two god-killing arrows entrusted to her by Noah, a strategic move to prevent the Dark Lord from gaining complete control. In a split second, the dark swords defied the gravity distortion caused by Noah's power. Sensing the opening, Michael released Noah's wrists, swiftly grasping one of the dark swords and driving it into Noah's gut. Simultaneously, a sharp pain surged through Michael's own abdomen, realizing that Noah had retaliated by plunging a sword into his own gut. The momentary stillness was shattered by the intensity of their shared pain. A searing pain tore through their stomachs, causing blood to trickle down the darkened sky. Ominous thunders rumbled and lightning streaks illuminated the battlefield. From his castle, Andor sensed the weakening of the barrier and erupted into maniacal laughter, hoping that the god of darkness and god of light would destroy each other, shattering the barrier that kept him from reaching the realm of gods. With a firm grip on their swords, Michael and Noah drove the blades deeper into each other's bodies. In a desperate move, Michael raised his other hand, releasing a dense cloud of poison from a contraption built into his palm. The noxious fumes engulfed Noah's face, momentarily disorienting him and giving Michael an opportunity to grasp the second dark sword suspended in the air. However, before the second blade could find its mark, Olivia appeared unexpectedly, seizing Michael's hand. With tear-filled eyes and a voice filled with regret, Olivia addressed her teacher. "I am sorry, teacher." Neela, who had brought Olivia to the battlefield, witnessed the anguish in Olivia's expression. It was clear that betraying her teacher pained Olivia to the core. Taking advantage of the distraction caused by Olivia's intervention, Noah swiftly flicked his wrist, producing a god-killing arrow. With a resolute determination, he plunged the arrow through Michael's heart, dealing a decisive blow. As the god-killing arrow pierced through Michael's heart, a deafening thunderclap reverberated through the air, causing the entire world to tremble in response. The oceans, once restless with crashing waves, stilled in an eerie silence, as if paying homage to the monumental moment taking place above. In the midst of the charged atmosphere, lightning bolts erupted across the darkened sky, illuminating the heavens with their brilliant flashes. The bolts crackled with raw energy, as if mirroring the intense clash between light and darkness unfolding before the eyes of gods and mortals alike. It was a sight that struck awe and fear into the hearts of those who witnessed it. With the god of darkness struck by the god-killing arrow, a profound stillness settled over the battlefield. In a surge of determination, Noah seized another god-killing arrow and swiftly plunged it through Michael's gut, deepening the wound. As the arrow tore through flesh and sinew, a visceral spray of blood erupted from Michael's gut, splashing across the sky in a macabre display. The crimson liquid tainted his lips, trickling down his mouth in a chilling stream. Michael's eyes widened, a mix of agony and disbelief flickering within them. The pain coursed through his body, intensifying with each passing moment. Yet, despite the torment, a sinister smile twisted across his face, a cruel testament to his indomitable spirit. Note: continue reading and I promise you what you feel will turn into goosebumps. Chapter 1037. What really happened? Part 1. An error occurred while reading the file. Could not find file/data/www/panda_novel_y/used_emails. TXT. Despite the torment inflicted upon him by the two god-killing arrows, Michael's indomitable will and resilience shone through. With a surge of strength, he gripped Noah by the neck, his fingers tightening around the vulnerable flesh. In an act of defiance, he headbutted Noah with a resounding thud, followed by a swift kick to the chest that propelled Noah through the sky, his body hurtling away from the battlefield. "I am sorry, teacher." With Olivia trembling in fear before him, Michael's gaze bore into her, a mixture of anger and disappointment etched across his blood-streaked face. Olivia stammered an apology, her voice trembling as she struggled to find the right words. The weight of her betrayal weighed heavily upon her, overshadowed by the impending threat to her life. In the midst of the chaos, Gaia, the relentless Naga warrior, fought against the enhanced gravity, her fierce determination allowing her to defy its oppressive force. Though her attempts to ascend into the sky were met with resistance, she refused to yield, her determination unyielding. Meanwhile, the two god-killing arrows embedded within Michael's body began to emit a radiant glow, their power sapping away his strength. The intensity of their radiance mirrored the diminishing might of the Dark Lord, causing Noah to launch himself at Michael once more. Yet this time Michael's agility proved superior as he deftly evaded Noah's punch, delivering a stinging slap across Noah's face that left him disoriented. "I don't want your sorry. I want your life," Michael growled menacingly at Olivia, his grip on her neck tightening, cutting off her air supply. Desperation flooded her eyes as her legs thrashed in a futile attempt to free herself from his grasp. As Olivia's life hung in the balance, Noah unleashed a brilliant beam of light, infused with his waning strength, directly at Michael's chest. The unexpected attack struck true, accompanied by the piercing pain of a third god-killing arrow that pierced Michael's back. Michael's gaze shifted, his eyes slowly taking in the sight of Sabrina, tears streaming down her face as she stood before him. "I had no choice," Sabrina murmured through her sorrow, her voice laced with regret and sadness. The collective forces of the Skyhall Angels and Noah's army, witnessing the fading power of the Dark Lord, were filled with renewed hope and anticipation. With the third god-killing arrow embedded within his form, Michael plummeted from the sky, crashing into the ground below, leaving behind a gaping crater as testament to the immense power unleashed in their final confrontation. Upon Michael's impact with the ground, the chaotic forces that had distorted gravity returned to normal. Gaia and Eve wasted no time, swiftly closing in on Michael's fallen form. However, their advance was met with opposition as a group of Sky Hall angels encircled them, their determination evident. Just as the situation seemed dire, a monstrous being materialized behind the Sky Hall angels, a grotesque creature composed of pulsating blood. With a vicious lunge, the beast attacked, attempting to overpower the encircling angels. In that crucial moment, Saber landed between Eve and the encircling angels, taking a defensive stance. "Go to the Dark Lord," Saber commanded Eve, his voice filled with determination as he prepared to fend off the advancing Sky Hall angels. Sabrina and Olivia, their eyes filled with tears, witnessed the descent of the Dark Lord with heavy hearts. For Olivia, the Dark Lord had been a mentor who had nurtured her talents in alchemy, shaping her into the accomplished 5-star alchemist she had become. For Sabrina, he was not only a brother to Noah but also a brother to her. Yet, she had been compelled to betray him, wielding the god-killing arrow to protect her family. The Sky Hall angels, observing the rapid decline of the Dark Lord's power from the half-celestial stage to the immortal stage, recognized the opportunity to strike. With the god-killing arrows still embedded within his body, the Dark Lord's strength waned with each passing moment. Seizing the moment, several Sky Hall angels and beastmen surged forward, their fervor undeterred. The undead army and the vampires loyal to their lord, rallied to defend him, creating a chaotic clash of forces. Even as the undead army and vampires moved to defend their lord, a fraction of the Sky Hall angels and beastmen managed to breach the defenses. Together they unleashed a barrage of powerful spells, their combined forces converging upon Michael with lethal intent. The air crackled with unleashed energy as the spells surged towards their target, seeking to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. As the Sky Hall angels and beastmen closed in on the fallen Dark Lord, they unleashed their devastating spells with a fierce determination. Blazing orbs of fire streaked through the air, exploding upon impact and engulfing the surroundings in searing flames. Arcs of lightning crackled and danced, striking the ground with electrifying force. Spears of ice materialized in midair, hurtling towards their target with deadly precision. Yet, as the onslaught of spells descended upon the Dark Lord, a pale blue shield manifested around him. This shield shimmered with a protective aura, absorbing the majority of the spell's destructive power. It flickered with resilience, deflecting the onslaught and mitigating the damage inflicted upon the wounded Dark Lord. Simultaneously, the Sky Hall angels and beastmen who managed to reach the Dark Lord engaged in close-quarters combat. Their blades clashed with his armor, creating sparks that illuminated the darkened battlefield. The Sky Hall angels, with their celestial wings, swooped down, delivering swift strikes with their celestial blades. The beastmen, with their fierce strength and agility, lunged and pounced, attempting to overwhelm the weakened Dark Lord. Amidst the chaotic clash, the Dark Lord evaded some of the attacks with fluid grace, swiftly parrying and countering their advances. His movements, though impaired by the god-killing arrows lodged within him, carried a lingering threat. With each strike he fought back, retaliating with a combination of brute force and calculated precision. His strikes were swift and accurate, as if driven by a primal instinct to survive. However, some attacks managed to breach the Dark Lord's defenses, finding their mark upon his vulnerable form. His armor, stained with his own blood, offered diminishing protection as his strength waned. Each blow intensified the pain coursing through his body, threatening to sap his remaining vitality. "I think you should take a look at." Amidst the chaotic clash, the voices of the Sky Hall angels and beastmen echoed through the battlefield. "Press the attack. He's weakening. Strike harder. Don't let him recover. He cannot withstand our combined might." As the battle reached its climax, Noah, consumed by pure rage, unleashed a barrage of catastrophic spells. Chains of radiant light materialized beside him, shooting forth with incredible speed to ensnare the Dark Lord. Simultaneously, a majestic winged lion, forged from pure light, materialized and lunged at Michael with fierce determination. The third spell Noah conjured resembled Michael's devastating meteor spell, but instead of fiery projectiles, Noah summoned 3 spheres of scorching light enveloped in radiant flames. The combined force of these spells struck Michael simultaneously, causing a tremendous explosion that sent shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. The resulting dust storm engulfed the area, obscuring the view and disorienting both armies. Seizing the opportunity, Noah summoned the remaining god-killing arrows, a manifestation of his determination to end the Dark Lord's life. Hands made of brilliant light materialized around Noah, each grasping a god-killing arrow. With the arrows in his possession, Noah descended from the sky, his intent clear, to deliver the final blow to the Dark Lord. Amidst the chaos, a sudden explosion of lightning illuminated the battlefield where Eve was locked in combat. Witnessing the overwhelming assault on her best friend, the Dark Lord, Eve's fury ignited within her. Her anger transformed into an intense surge of power as she leaped into the air, descending upon the ground with her hammer poised to strike. The resulting shockwave sent her adversaries hurtling through the air, their bodies flung aside with great force. Meanwhile, Saber, leading his vampire forces, charged at the surrounding Skyhall angels and beastmen, proving himself to be an exceptionally formidable opponent. With every drop of blood he consumed, Saber's strength and speed increased exponentially, turning him into an unstoppable force on the battlefield. On the other hand, Gaia surged forward like an unstoppable force, leaving a trail of devastation in her wake. Her ferocity knew no bounds as she tore through the ranks of the Skyhall angels and beastmen, their bodies no match for her ruthless onslaught. Limbs were ripped apart, and the ground became drenched in a macabre display of blood and shattered wings. The piercing cries of Gaia's victims reverberated across the battlefield, a haunting testament to her unrestrained power. However, as Gaia neared the area where Noah's spells had struck, Noah clenched his hands together, conjuring a luminous orb of light. The pulsating sphere radiated with escalating energy, growing more potent with each passing moment. With a swift motion, Noah hurled the orb toward Gaia, and upon impact with the ground, it erupted in a cataclysmic explosion. Witnessing the devastating attack on her dear friend, Eve's heartache transformed into an eruption of anger. She sprinted toward Gaia, her voice roaring with defiance. But the Skyhall angels capitalized on the distraction, converging upon Eve from all directions. Despite her valiant struggles, the numbers overwhelmed her as 20 to 30 Skyhall angels and beastmen closed in, forcibly subduing her. Their grip tightened, rendering her powerless against their combined strength. In a calculated move, the Skyhall angels conjured a swirling vortex of chakra, positioning it directly above Eve's head. The chakra spun rapidly, releasing wisps of smoke that entered Eve's consciousness, rendering her unconscious and silencing her defiance. As the smoke dissipated, the battered figure of the Dark Lord stood before them. His armor was in tatters, splattered with his own blood. His weary eyes struggled to stay open, his wavering stance indicating his impending collapse. It was a sight that conveyed the toll of the battle upon him. However, Noah seized the opportunity, landing behind Michael with astonishing speed and thrusting another god-killing arrow into his already wounded form. The hands of pure light created by Noah moved in a blur, delivering swift and precise strikes as the god-killing arrows pierced Michael's body. Each strike resounded with a thunderous clap, the accompanying flash of lightning illuminating the sky. In a final desperate attempt, Gaia lunged at Michael, her own body battered and bloodied. Despite her injuries, she sought to deliver a decisive blow. Her hand appeared twisted, and crimson streams trickled from her wounds. Michael, despite being pierced by the god-killing arrows, intercepted Gaia, his grip tight as he locked eyes with her. Gaia collapsed onto Michael, their bodies entwined, as Noah unleashed the last and ultimate god-killing arrow, piercing through both their hearts. At that moment, the darkness that had shrouded the battlefield began to recede, allowing the gentle rays of the rising sun to illuminate the horizon. Michael plummeted to the ground, cradling Gaia in his embrace, while Sabrina and Olivia stood nearby, witnessing the fall of the Dark Lord. As Michael's body made contact with the earth, the god-killing arrows pulsated with an intense surge of energy. Then, in a climactic finale, the god-killing arrows erupted in a magnificent explosion, engulfing the Dark Lord's form in a mist of crimson. Noah gazed up at the emerging sun, a symbol of a brighter future now that the Dark Lord had been vanquished. Noah, having finally exacted his revenge upon the Dark Lord for the deaths of Alicia and Norvin, sank to his knees. As the radiant light surrounding him subsided, the true extent of the damage inflicted upon Noah became evident. His body was covered in bruises, blood seeping from numerous wounds. His once majestic armor now lay in tatters, a testament to the fierce battle he had endured. With the defeat of the Dark Lord, Saber took to the skies, his vampire followers vanishing alongside him. Ilara, fueled by a desire for justice, attempted to pursue the fleeing vampires, but Noah commanded her to stand down. "Let them go," Noah said, his voice weary but resolute. It's over. As the dust settled and the chaos of battle subsided, Noah let out a sigh of relief. The long and arduous struggle had finally come to an end. Get ready for some goosebump moments,